Hello and welcome to another episode of the RedLaughRiot podcast. My name's Matt.
I'm Ben.
Oh, and I'm Eamon.
Yeah, so we have special guest, Eamon, who's
Special.
very
Yes.
special. And yeah, but he's a good mate of ours. Minimum film school. Both of us, minimum
Playing
film school.
poker.
Yep, playing poker. Yeah.
We should do that afterwards. Play some more poker.
Fuck
Yeah.
yes, that's a good idea.
With my office playing cards.
Yeah. Sweet. All right. So yeah, it's been a while in between drinks, but we're back for another episode. Ben, why don't you take it away with our first segment?
What is the first segment?
First segment is reading the headlines.
Is it? Or are we
Is
doing the introing? Don't we normally do an intro with the guest?
Oh shit, that's a good point.
We haven't had a new
I
guest
totally
in so long.
forgot about that.
God damn it, Matt.
It's
So,
been a while.
What do we do? We first
do
we
the-
ask, who are you, what do you do,
Yeah,
and what are you doing here? Is that what we ask?
yeah.
It's
and
something
then,
like
and
that.
then we also got the
We got the James something questions.
Yeah, the James Lipton questionnaire.
Right, so who are you?
I'm Eamon.
What do you do?
Like for work or
If someone asks, what do you do? What do you tell them?
not a lot.
And what are you doing here? I don't
Oh.
think that's what we normally ask, but
Yeah, no, I live here. And so.
well, that's good. That's good information to be aware of when we're recording.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Matt lives with me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lucky Matt.
For like 3 more days.
All right, I've found the questionnaire. All right, first question, Eamon. What is your favorite word? Try not to overthink it. Like, just do like the
First
first
thing.
answer
First
that
thing?
comes to your
Comes to
head.
your head.
What's like what's the rating on this? Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Fuck.
Okay, cool. What is your least favorite word?
No.
No. What turns you on?
I would not know.
You can take that question however you like.
I thought it was like creatively.
Yeah,
spiritually,
yeah,
so.
yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just going to say Tom Holland, but
yeah. Yeah, Tom Holland. Fine.
you'll just go Tom Holland.
Sure. What turns you off?
Not Tom Holland.
Not Tom Holland. Fair. What sound or noise do you love?
I love when the oven beeps because it means my pizza's ready.
Fair.
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you hate?
When you have sound on your phone, you can hear the clicking. I hate it.
Oh yeah, the
I hate
keyboard
it.
tapping. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I miss like every call I've ever got because I just don't have sound on my phone.
Yeah.
It's worth it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my ADHD gets in the way.
Fair. What is your favorite curse word? I think it's the same
think
as
it's
your
fuck.
favorite word.
It's either fuck or like cunt. Cunt with a capital K.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Directing.
Directing.
Yeah.
Fair. What-
Stage or film?
Film. I'd be too panicky for stage.
Yeah.
What profession would you not like to do?
Anything sport related,
Fair.
to be honest.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Okay, we're assuming I'm going to show up at heaven.
Yeah. We're also presuming he exists.
Yeah. And we're also presuming he's the one that greets you when
Yeah.
you go in. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Don't know.
I don't really think I've ever thought about
Mm,
that. I don't know. I thought about what I'd like there to be in heaven, which is just movies, but
fair.
I don't fucking
Maybe
know.
something along the lines of movies, like
yeah.
oh,
Here's your
yeah.
schedule.
He's like, right. So we got first up, we got
Every Marvel film.
every Marvel film. Then we got every Pixar film.
Yeah, except for fucking Brave and Cars 2.
Yeah,
those two can just go away.
fair. All right. Yeah, well, that's it. That's
Yeah.
the James Lipton questionnaire, which I absolutely love. I love that. I don't know why I love that questionnaire so much. I think just because it reveals a lot about people and stuff,
Yeah.
like sort of their answers and that.
Some quite simple questions that can like
Mm.
give you quite a bit of character.
Yeah.
So now you know who Eamon is,
Yeah.
roughly. So now you won't think he's a stranger this entire time
Yeah.
so much.
Speaking of strangers, have you got some strange headlines there for us?
Oh my god.
They're not the strangest.
Not the strangest? Fair enough.
From World News, UK students want tuition fees refunded as they face third year online.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This seems like a pretty fair thing to ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least a partial refund. I don't know if they want a whole refund or a partial refund, but yeah, imagine that. Imagine like getting a big ass student loan, or if you were able to, like, if you saved up for years and because you didn't want a loan, you just chucked it all into these fees for doing a 3-year degree or whatever. And then COVID happens, and all your classes is like you at home on a laptop and this crappy Zoom call the whole time.
Yeah.
Has it been 3 years? I guess nah. Well,
No. Like
next year would be 3 years. I
Yeah,
know
next year would be the third year.
as they face third
as they
year
face a third
as
year.
they come towards the third. Oh, because the UK year starts differently, doesn't it?
True. Maybe
It
that.
starts in September, right?
yeah.
But they wouldn't have been. I don't know.
I don't know. Math is hard.
They're up. They've been there for at least 2 years.
Yeah. Either way, it's still that's still like 2/3 of your degree, like
Or
almost
something.
all of your degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fair enough.
Yeah, no, that's and I think one of the other aspect to that is sort of the missing out of the like university experience, you know, which is like a big part of it. Like not just like the course itself, but like, you know, obviously there's like the partying situation, which like, fuck yeah, that'd be sick.
Yeah. Because I went to all the parties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, you got the party side, but then you also just have like the campus life sort of atmosphere, you know, and so obviously they're missing out on that side of things, which is, you know, a shame, obviously. Yeah, no, so I think they're well within their rights to ask for like a partial refund or like something, you know, to sort of compensate for that. It shouldn't be as expensive as it is.
Pretty easy to agree with you there. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if I know enough about how universities like function economically, but it's like, what are they spending the money on? If they, you know, if there's literally no one there, or if did just the professors go there and they teach from there, or do they still teach from home? I don't know. We're assuming that like basically all the resources that would normally be used at a university are not being used, so that's like probably most of the money. But if they don't own the land, then they have to pay rental, lease, or whatever, and they still have to pay that even though they don't use the property.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, there's definitely costs I can understand
Yeah.
being necessary, but yeah, some sort of refund would make sense. But then again, also as the university as a business is probably also struggling
Yeah.
just as much. So
Yeah.
who knows? Then again, I guess people don't stop studying during COVID, so maybe they're not struggling. Maybe they're just laughing it up,
Yeah.
getting rich and fat.
I mean that's the thing, eh? That wouldn't surprise me at all. And you got to remember, at the end of the day, universities are, as you were saying, are, you know, for-profit businesses. They're built to make money. So obviously, from their perspective, regardless of how well they're doing, they wouldn't want to pay out. That's going to cut into their profit margins. So we'll have to wait and see, I guess, to see.
We will have to wait and see. What we don't have to wait and see for is what, I don't know how to say his name, Derek Chauvin
Oh yeah,
was sentenced to 22.5 years in prison for the murder of George Floyd.
Yeah.
Well, thank goodness.
Yeah, it's a
They
good
found
thing.
him guilty.
It's a good thing that he was found guilty, because had he not been, there 100% would have been riots.
Yeah.
And we know this because we've seen this before. We've seen it.
We've literally seen the riots.
Yeah, but no, we've also seen it in just other cases and stuff.
Right.
Like back in the 90s, there was a case of police brutality that called the Rodney King. A case of Rodney King, who was a black man who was abused by the police in LA. During the 90s. So, you know, and that caused nationwide riots when all the cops were found not guilty. So we've got that. We've also got the fact that obviously a lot of people have been saying that really the only major reason why he was found guilty was because of the fact that there was footage.
Right.
Granted, in the Rodney King case, I'm pretty sure there was footage in that as well. So you've got that whole aspect to it as well. Yeah, I'm just glad that he was found guilty.
What do you think of 22.5 years?
I don't think it's enough, to be honest, but I'm not surprised.
I don't know how old he is. He looks like
I think
50s.
Yeah, I think he's like 40. They're late 40s, maybe 50.
So it's like
70.
get out of prison and then you retired anyway. So it's like there's really not much life left.
Yeah,
for you if you go into prison for that long. So it seems, I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing though, because have they sentenced him to? Is it 22? Is it 22 years before he gets a first parole hearing, or?
Good question.
Yeah, or is it because you know what I mean? Sometimes 22 years doesn't necessarily mean 22 years.
Apparently not the 30 years that the prosecution wanted, but still 10 years longer than what the recommendation for a first-time offender is.
Oh, that's weird.
So, even if you commit murder, if it's your first ever offence, you only get sentenced to 12.5 years.
That's
normally
really weird.
Yeah,
that does not make any sense.
Like, yeah, it doesn't matter that it shouldn't matter that's your first offence if you committed murder.
Yeah, if you murder someone, then you should probably stay in prison for at least a longer time than 14 years.
Someone says guy murdered someone on film, expected probation, lol, which makes me assume that he doesn't have that option.
Yeah. So maybe it's
sounds like he doesn't.
You know, his mum's complaining at the moment.
Yeah.
His mum's like really annoyed.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Because she's like, it's something like she could be dead by the time he gets out. So she's having a go at that. And it's like,
I see.
Your son fucking murdered someone.
Yeah.
Are you fucking serious?
I wouldn't want to see my son if he murdered someone.
Yeah. So some bittersweet news, I suppose.
Yeah.
Good news, but not on a nice topic.
Yeah, exactly.
And now we just have bad news all around.
Yeah.
Environment Minister Susan Ley said Australia would challenge the recommendation of a UN panel which recommended that the Great Barrier Reef should be added to a list of World Heritage Sites that are, quote, in danger.
Yeah. No, it should be.
It should be, but this Australian Environment Minister is challenging that and saying that it shouldn't be.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Because
they're like fishing.
What does this person do for their job if they're the Environment Minister and they literally
don't care about the environment?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because it's they currently Australia's weird for one thing in particular is that so the party that's currently in power is a right wing government that are known as the Liberal Party, which doesn't make any sense because liberals is a term associated with left wing politics, but that's beside the point. So that probably has an influence on it. I think one of the major reasons why they don't want it, the status of it changed is because of the fact that it's a tourism like hotspot. So they're from their perspective, they're worried about about impacts on tourism, which obviously results in money, right?
People who think like that are literally thinking like so short-sighted.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah,
it's like if the impact of tourism means that the reef gets destroyed, then you're not going to be able to use it for tourism anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So once that's gone, you won't have anything to show for tourism. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just I think that's half the issue is when it comes to anything that is talking about environmental stuff is that it's so in order to have reform in that area, unfortunately there needs to be some financial suffering in the short term, right? Whether that's like for the Great Barrier Reef, for example, right? If you shut it off to tourists, right? Obviously, that's going to cause some financial suffering.
Yeah.
But it's going to stop the thing from disappearing as a whole. Same thing with petrol taxes or car car taxes and stuff. So you've got that whole issue of like the fact. It's sort of a fact of the matter of like it's such a pressing issue that stuff needs to be done. Like now, we can't really afford as a society anymore to sort of faff about with it. but you're seeing a lot of faffing about
Yeah.
when it comes to these issues. Yeah, I don't know.
Money makes the world go round.
Yep.
It
It all comes down to money, basically.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, which is
Yep.
very depressing.
Because for most of these people, they'll be dead before it gets really bad.
Yeah, exactly. So they won't
So-
see the
negative impact.
the negative impacts of their actions. Well, speaking of money, you know what type of films make a lot of money? The MCU. And so we are going to be counting down our top 5 favorite films in the MCU. This will be very interesting because you've got me, who very much does not consider themselves a fan of the MCU. I think they're all right.
Okay, last time we spoke, you definitely didn't think they were right. So
Oh, well,
He's seen a lot more.
this deserves an update.
what? No, I feel like for the most part, I feel like a lot of the time people misconstrue what I say about MCU films. I don't think they're necessarily bad films. I just think that they're all right for the most part as a whole.
So you've recently done some watching to catch up on all these.
Yeah.
Do you want to say which films you had seen before you started?
Oh God, it was
Watching.
like barely anything. It was like
I know that.
all the Avengers.
All the Avengers. You've seen Civil War,
Yeah. Civil War,
Homecoming.
Homecoming. Was that it?
I think that was
Yeah, I think that was it.
That's not a lot of movies, and most of those were crossovers.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna look. I'm just having a look at your diary to check.
You're
how
not
you
gonna
watched
like
this.
the order that we watched it in. I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
that,
now.
yeah,
that's
no.
what I want to. That's what I want to read out. 'Cause I think the audience needs to have this context so that before they hear Matt's opinions on these movies. So after having seen the 4 Avengers movies, Civil War and Spider-Man: Homecoming, he then went and watched Captain America: The First Avenger.
Yeah.
And then Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Yep.
He'd already seen the
and then
Avengers.
he
so
rewatched Civil War, but that was leading
Oh,
up
did he?
to Falcon Winter Soldier.
so that
That was
wasn't in
leading
your
up to
diary.
Falcon Winter Soldier's finale.
You didn't put that in your Letterboxd diary. And then he logged Falcon and Winter Soldier, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
And then next you went and you watched Guardians of the Galaxy and then Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 straight after. That's not terrible because they take place like right after each other, don't they? Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They take
do.
like 4 months apart, I
Right.
think.
And then where's the next one? Next you went Thor and then Thor the Dark World, then Thor Ragnarok.
Leading up to Loki.
Ah, I see. And then Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then The Incredible Hulk, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man Far From Home, and then WandaVision,
Yeah.
it looks
Yeah.
like. So are there other things that you watched that you didn't log in Letterboxd? Did you rewatch anything?
No.
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 No,
I'm also-
I think I watched the Avengers because I watched everything with like Captain America leading up to the finale of Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah.
I think he skipped all of the Avengers films in my rewatch.
Yeah, I personally I don't like rewatching movies.
Right.
I would rather watch a movie that I haven't seen than rewatch a movie.
Okay. With that context, it makes it not quite as bad.
He just kind of picked which franchise
Mm,
seemed the most appealing out of the ones we had left, and then at the end we just had all like the single,
right.
like the Doctor Strange, Black Panther kind of singular films left.
I see.
Yeah.
Because I guess in some ways it's fair enough. Because if you'd already seen Civil War, it's like not many of these have crossover with each other in their solo films, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess that's all right. I guess it's fair enough if that's
Yeah.
the way you're doing it. But just so that everybody knows, he watched it in that order.
The weirdest
So-
order.
The weirdest order
For
that
me-
we could have done it.
What I find so important, and I'm sure I've talked about this before when we discussed Infinity War.
Oh, I'm sure.
One of the best things about that is like when you watch the films in the proper, like in a normal order, you get to know the characters, and you have the capacity to feel a lot more emotion when you see them in a movie like Infinity War. And I'm sad that you didn't rewatch it. Because I think if you rewatch it after having watched all the other movies, you might have a different experience of that movie. Because at the moment, your experience of that movie is seeing it before seeing any of those other solo movies.
But we're assuming he likes
So-
any of those characters.
I suppose that is an assumption, mate. But still, if whether you like them or not, you spent time with them. There's a capacity for a little bit more connection than just watching it out the gate with nothing else in front of it. But with all that context established, I suppose we'll get right into it.
Yeah. Let me just find my list. All right, got it. So my number 5 pick is Spider-Man: Homecoming. Yeah, I don't know. Just a nice. It was just a movie that I had a lot of fun with. I think Tom Holland's probably my favorite Spider-Man. Might be a big call. I don't know. Yeah, no, I just I like how sort of what he brought with the character. In terms of his approach of being the most like I don't know. I think making Spider-Man a teenager sort of gives it that like aspect of like how
more
he,
realism.
like, realism and just him joking around and sort of makes it more entertaining. And and then you've also got the sort of coming of age element to it as well, which I really like. Obviously, being a big fan of that as a genre as well. Yeah, I don't really know what else to really say about it. It was sort of, more the ones that I sort of enjoyed. That it was just a film that, the films that, and I can say this about all the films in my top 5, are the ones that I had the most fun with.
Yeah.
While watching it, and Homecoming's definitely a good example of that, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, my number 5 pick.
Yeah,
done.
Okay. So my number 5 is Civil War.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now I remember it was back in I think year 12 of high school, and it was like when we still did opening nights, like midnight premieres.
Oh yeah.
So I went to like the midnight premiere of it, and it was like this big thing, and there was just something about it. It was one of those. I know it felt it was like an Avengers film. It was better than Age of Ultron. I think. Yeah, it's much better than Age of Ultron. It felt like a better second Avengers film, but it still had the kind of personal touch that made it a Captain America film. And we got introduced to like Black Panther, Spider-Man. We got Zemo. I love Zemo. Got a lot of Zemo stuff in this room currently. Yeah, so I just think the film was really. I'm losing the word. It was a really well put together film. It felt like they knew every character going in. That the directors understood every character, and so every character got their own little moment to shine. Even Vision, who does like fuck all in the rest of the other films. Yeah. Even in his own show, he doesn't really do much. And so like even Vision got some cool shit to do. And like and it also gave me more Hawkeye, and I like more Hawkeye. I'm always a big Hawkeye fan.
Yeah, I remember watching Civil War and just being like, I guess it's surprised at how good of a movie it was. Yeah, like because it's like it's probably the first time I went into a Marvel movie like kind of not worried, but like cautious, like a little bit, just like this could be too much, you know. And the way they handled it and had this big superhero showdown without it feeling like forced and fake, like because like they had an established purpose to be at that airport for that fight, as and they established that they're pulling their punches because they're obviously trying not to kill each other, but just like get past each other. And so it kind of established something as big as Civil War in a kind of a more grounded, real way that the MCU could do it.
I would like to see like a comic book accurate Civil War at one point.
I feel like they would,
in
right?
the MCU.
Now that we've had Endgame and everything else, like I feel like they could go a bit bigger with a Civil War 2.
I don't think we're getting another one.
I reckon it's in the cards. It wouldn't be Captain America Central.
It would be the one that has Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I reckon.
And then they just, I think, because she goes up against Iron Man in the comics, I think they just substitute him for someone else. Yeah.
Easy.
But no, I don't, because I think I know what they're leading up to next.
Right. Okay.
So I don't think Civil War's kind of in the direction they're going.
Maybe. We'll see. We shall see. My number 5 pick is Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Okay.
This one, another one that I was also like actually kind of gobsmacked at how good this movie
Yeah.
was when I saw it. Yeah, because we just had Endgame and everything was like I kind of felt like after Endgame, I felt like a part of me kind of died, like a part of me that I'd followed with these movies for so long was over and finished and complete. And then they throw this great movie at me, and I'm just like, damn it, do I have to keep watching these because they're still good? And we haven't had a movie since, so who knows if they're still going to be good. But yeah, that was like really, really great. And I love all that visual stuff with Mysterio and all those visions and things. And yeah, another really well put together thing, which has just got me like a billion times excited for the third movie, which I can't believe is actually coming out this year.
Yeah, it's like December.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the last movie that came out, and it's already got a sequel coming out this year. Like, that's how screwed up the schedule is. Because Sony has got to make that buck on Spider-Man, I guess.
No, it's because I think there's like a thing in their contract where they have to put out a new Spider-Man film every 2 years.
Is it 2 years? Jeez.
Yeah, because that's why the Andrew Garfield ones were 2 years apart.
Right.
It was 2 years apart as well. And then, because I think they started it at Andrew Garfield, because if they go 2 years without making a Spider-Man film, they have to hand him fully back to Marvel.
Right. Oh, yeah, because that happened. Yeah, that happened with like Daredevil and stuff. They didn't make any more movies, and then Marvel got it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sony just kind of wants the money.
I mean, fair enough. It's a big moneymaker these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. My number 4 pick is Iron Man 1.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, no, I like Iron Man 1. It was just, I sort of liked how they went about introducing him as a character.
Yeah.
You know, the sort of dark and gritty, like, sort of has to fight his way out of a fucking terrorist fucking hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a really interesting sort of angle that they took, and it just felt like, I think you can sort of say it for the rest of my top 5s, you know, the ones that I've sort of picked are the ones that feel the least formulaic, are the ones that I like the most. Yeah, and so I just enjoyed that sort of aspect of it, and the tone of it especially, I think, was my major thing that I enjoyed about it. Yeah.
I love that in that movie. It's like at least like 40 minutes before Iron Man is even Iron Man.
Yeah.
You know? And even after that, he's got to build the second suit.
Yeah.
And then the third suit, you know.
Yeah.
So like it's spent so much time on his character, which is what makes that movie so great. It's not really an Iron Man movie. It's a Tony Stark movie, and you can say that for maybe not so much Iron Man 2, but Iron Man 1 and 3 definitely mostly character focused.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Avengers movies, his character is more Iron Man focused.
Yeah.
Because that's what the kind of story needs. But yeah, I love when they do it, when they introed him in that movie, that they made it so much about him. And that's
with Civil War as well.
Yeah, you could say that about Civil War too. Yeah. Yeah, because that's actually what makes the movie good. It's character. It's not just flashy action and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is actually why when I think about Iron Man in retrospect, I often see it not quite as good as some of the movies, even though some of the other movies might be more formulaic. I kind of don't like the third act of Iron Man, because then at the end it just becomes slightly too superhero-y, you know.
Right.
The movies I love the most are the ones that feel the least like superhero movies.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
And at the end it's just like big guy versus the other guy, big bad guy versus good guy, and a big tank suit thing, which is just a bigger, badder version of Iron Man, which maybe that was all right when it first came out, but then, you know,
Marvel did it with like every villain.
Pretty much. So many villain characters are now just another version of the main hero. And now that when I watch Iron Man again, I just kind of get bored in that last 20 minutes. Now I've seen this 100 times. But leading up to that, first half of the movie is just fantastic.
Yeah.
For sure.
I remember watching a video, and feel free to tell me if this is wrong or not. But I remember watching a video about the fact that apparently they, like, the filmmakers in that were focusing so much on the special effects on that they didn't have much of a script.
Yeah,
is that true?
I don't know if it was to do with the visual effects, but there was definitely, like, not a full finished script when they
Yeah,
started
no,
filming.
Yeah. So that is true.
Yeah.
It's not complete bullshit. Cool.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching a thing and it was talking about that and it said that, and then one of the things that I thought, I was like, when I saw that, I was like, and then I think that's why it made me like going into
that's when you picked to watch the Iron Man franchise. He came in and he was like, I don't watch Iron Man tonight. I just watched a whole video about it. Let's watch Iron Man. It's like, okay.
Yeah, and it was talking about and so they were talking, and one of the things that I liked about it was, I think it was it the director, or I want to say it was the director, or like one of the people who were like higher up in, one of the HODs said something along the lines of that they were like, oh, okay, fuck it, and sort of viewed it as like being like a student film.
Yeah.
Was sort of how he looked at it. He was like, it was like, fuck it, let's just treat it as a student film, but like with a massive fucking budget. And I was kind of like, when I like saw that in that video, I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So I sort of, I don't know, that's sort of a story that I kind of like.
Nice.
Yeah. Done.
Number 4?
Yeah.
Okay, my number 4 is Ant-Man. I love Ant-Man.
Yeah.
I think the first Ant-Man's like miles better than the second one.
Sure,
But I think you can, because Edgar Wright still has a writing credit on Ant-Man.
Right.
And I think you can tell that it's an Edgar Wright film, and I love Edgar Wright. So it just feels more like an Edgar Wright film. It's just it's a nice, like, you good?
Yeah.
Yep. It's just like a nice smaller kind of scaled film. It's like a heist film.
Yeah.
And it's like with Far From Home, it came right after Age of Ultron.
Right.
Which was like the big Avengers film. And then they just put like a small heist movie starring Paul Rudd as a dude who can shrink. And it was just this like really weird idea, but it really worked. And then they've got the supporting cast, which is like Michael Douglas, Michael Pena, a lot of Michaels. David Dastmalchian, who just wants to be in every superhero thing ever made.
Who's that?
He's the German guy who helps them out, Kurt.
Oh,
but he's also in The Dark Knight. He was in Gotham. He was in The Flash.
Huh.
He's in the latest Batman animated film. He's in the Suicide Squad movie. He just comes and does like anything superhero. I think he's also in the Lego Batman movie. Just anything superhero related he wants to be a part of. But no, and then he's great. And then you've got like Evangeline Lilly as well. It does have one of the weaker villains of the MCU, I'd say, but they don't focus on him a lot.
Right.
So it'd be different if they like focused a lot on him and then he was just shit.
Yeah.
It's just they don't give him enough time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly about establishing.
Yeah, they mostly establish like Scott and the heist.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the best aspect of the entire film is just the heist and the comedy as well. I think in Ant-Man 2, they went too focused on the comedy aspect.
Yeah.
Where in the first one, it was just like every now and again, there would just be like a really funny joke. Like the fight with Falcon.
Yeah.
When he like pops up and he's like, "Hi, I'm Scott." And you cut back and she's like, did he just say, "Hi, I'm Scott"?
Yeah.
And it's like just little moments of comedy sprinkled in throughout the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's still a big, like, it's still a superhero film. But just shoved into like a genre that superhero films don't normally go to, and with just nice comedic like placements. And then Paul Rudd is just a literal god.
He's so lovable.
So just Paul Rudd can do anything.
Yeah.
I love Paul Rudd.
It is a great movie that for the most part like does kind of stand on its own as just a great little fun film. And it's just a lot of fun, especially that third act like is so much fun. With like the Thomas Tank Engine.
When they're like falling down on like the briefcase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're playing like the big action, like the song off the phone, and then you cut and it's just like a briefcase.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like
the way they played with scale and everything in that film is really cool. I love that they shot it in 185 instead of, what do you call it, 239 scope, which gives you much.
I think it's one of the only two Marvel films that's done that. That and Avengers.
The Avengers and Ant-Man. And I was, like kind of, it just gives you a much better frame for those kind of shots and stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And a lot of fun and everything. But then the thing that really kind of bugs me about it is it does tie itself a little bit too much into the Avengers for me, because they have that little excursion to the Avengers compound where you see Falcon and you don't see anyone else. Not even you don't even see extras like in the Avengers facility, like talking to him on comms or anything. It just feels quite forced and like just stuck in there at the end. Like
that was, I think, mainly because they wanted him in Civil War.
Yeah, exactly.
So they just kind of shoved in a scene to get him into Civil War to make it make sense that everyone would know about him.
One of the reasons I love Spider-Man Homecoming so much is because it feels like very, very naturally a part of the MCU.
Yeah.
But the Ant-Man, the MCU aspects of it felt so much more forced and unnatural. It just didn't kind of sit right.
Wasn't that because Edgar Wright wrote it as like it's like a standalone
Yeah,
film.
He wrote it
didn't
as a
want
complete
it at all
standalone.
in the MCU.
Yeah.
And Marvel kept being like, no, it's an MCU film. You need to put it in. And you're like, no, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And so he just left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of this could be put down to, I've now forgotten the guy's name, but the guy who is the head of Marvel Entertainment.
Kevin Feige.
No, the head of Marvel Entertainment, who's is somebody else. Ike Perlmutter, I think that's his name, is apparently a real douche and isn't very wise with creative decisions. Like, apparently he's the reason that it's taken so long to have a Black Widow movie and stuff. So it could have been a lot of him, like, forcing people to make decisions that they didn't want to make. Because it was pretty soon after Ant-Man came out that Marvel Studios separated from Marvel Entertainment. So now that Ike Perlmutter doesn't have anything to do with the movies and Kevin Feige is reporting directly to Disney. So that's why there's, after that, what came out after like Civil War and stuff, from that point, you see a lot more creative freedom in the MCU, and I think a lot of it is to do with that split, and that could potentially be what caused some of those issues I have with Ant-Man, but it is what it is. They can't change it. They can't go back and change it after the fact, but you'll live with what you have, I suppose.
Fair.
I spent too long talking about your number 4 movie.
We'll just hope Ant-Man's also your number 4.
It's not. My number 4 is Iron Man 3.
Okay, yeah.
And this for a long time was just one of my favorite movies of all time, really. Like, it's one of the movies I can just go back and rewatch at any time and just love it. And I don't know why so many people dislike it.
The Mandarin twist.
Yeah, but like,
that's it.
I don't exactly, but that's not enough reason to dislike, like, because I thought that was one of the best parts of the movie.
Yeah,
like, it's such a Tony Stark focused movie, which I love. The complaints I always heard was, the Mandarin twist, and he just blows up all the suits at the end, and like people don't understand like how strong of a character moment that is when he blows up all the suits. Like, how that's an impactful moment that is between him and Pepper. Showing how much he is focusing on their relationship. But then people, I guess when it first came out, people were just like, is he just not Iron Man anymore? Yeah. But he specifically says he's going to keep tinkering. Like, he's obviously still going to be Iron Man and come back in an Iron Man suit in the Avengers, and he did. Yeah. But he didn't come back with 42 suits flying in the air in Avengers, obviously. Although he did build a robot army. So that's actually one of the things I dislike the most about Avengers Age of Ultron is probably it.
I think if you put Iron Man 3 after Age of Ultron, it would make so much more sense.
It would, actually.
Because then it would fit in perfectly between the Age of Ultron and Civil War.
Yes.
For Tony's arc.
Yeah, that would make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But if we ignore that, if we ignore the existence of the movies after Iron Man 3, Iron Man 3 is, fantastic. So good for Tony's character. He spends barely any time in the actual suit. And the best Iron Man sequence is when he saves everyone from that plane. Yeah. And he's not even in the suit. He's controlling it remotely. So, like, great.
Yeah, and the house scene.
The house scene's pretty good. I love the house scene's great.
Like, he can't use any of the weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not actually like functioning. It's not actually a functioning suit.
So he like goes to the store, buys these little things, and creates these little devices to like blow people up. And
it's the one aspect of it that's actually a Christmas movie.
Yes,
like uses the Christmas baubles,
exactly.
Like bombs.
Yes, good point. Yeah, that's a great point. It really shows the ingenuity that Tony still has to be able to do that sort of thing, even without his money and all those resources. So many great moments in that movie. Aldrich Killian is a little bit annoying, admittedly, but he's not the weakest villain that they've had. He's just a little bit, a slightly more lame than others.
He's probably, this is going to be really controversial, I think he's the best Iron Man villain.
Yeah. Oh no, I definitely would agree.
Yeah.
Actually, like I mean, I
think people would argue Jeff Bridges.
I think Jeff Bridges on his own is better, but when he becomes Ironmonger,
yeah,
like
then
I
he
said
puts on the
before,
suit, and I was
it's
like,
just way more boring, and I don't care.
he just becomes an evil Iron Man.
But when he's like that menacing, like businessman, he's actually really good. And like there's the scene with Pepper when she's in his office, or is it the other way? He's in her office or whatever.
She's in his office. She's getting all the.
That's right. He's getting
computer.
stuff off his computer. That's such a tense
Yeah.
and amazing scene. And then another scene, which is probably one of my favorite scenes in the MCU, is when he goes home to Tony and he uses that little paralyzation device and talks to him and reveals to him that he betrayed him and all that.
And they reuse those shots.
What do you
for
mean?
Infinity War.
Reused.
When he's like leaning up to Tony, like taking the thing out.
Yeah.
They use the same kind of blocking for when Thanos has just stabbed Tony
really?
in Infinity War.
Oh, that's cool. Because that is one of my favorite moments in Infinity War.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's cool. I didn't notice that. Yeah. Exciting. That's why am I talking about Iron Man? I'm talking Iron Man 3 is the movie I was talking about. Anyway,
we went back to Matt's number 4.
Yeah. But anyway, I think you've heard me talk about Iron Man 3 enough.
Oh no, I love Iron Man 3.
I think the part I like about it.
Sorry, also the end credit sequence. Best end credit sequence in the MCU. Maybe among the best of all time, and such a great soundtrack to that sequence. I love that.
Yeah, I constantly, it's one of the themes I just have stuck in my head.
Yeah.
It's that, Ant-Man, and like Doctor Strange are like the 3 ones I constantly have going on in my head.
Yeah, I'd say the Iron Man one, like, it's the most memorable to me. It's one of the few that I can actually recall and just hum.
It's what I think is like the definitive Iron Man theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of the credit sequence acts in that way because it has footage from like the 3 movies together and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think my favorite aspect of Iron Man 3 is the fact of PTSD of Tony's PTSD. I think I think that's a really interesting aspect.
The only time an MCU film, apart from Endgame, is like actually showing the impact of something on a hero.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's Tony's PTSD and then Thor's PTSD. Like the 2 times they've done it.
Right.
I don't think they've really done it with anyone
else.
You mean like on a character level?
Yeah.
Because obviously they have Civil War, it's like the consequences of it. But
I
think
like
they
on
show
like
it a little
more
bit.
Character level. They have like Tony's PTSD after Avengers.
Well, there's WandaVision obviously now.
Yeah, but
which
like
deals with
that's
that.
just Wanda's PTSD for everything.
I suppose. Yeah.
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 I just thought that was an interesting aspect. Yeah. So my number 3 pick is Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just I mean, it's fucking Taika, right? So it's just like his style sort of injected into the MCU is just really interesting. Yeah, it's just super entertaining. I love Taika, so obviously makes sense that I would love. Yeah, just so interesting, sort of what he managed to accomplish on a big budget, like not even big budget, like massive budget.
Yeah.
Is there a term for that? Like big budget?
A bigger budget.
Bigger budget. Yeah, so just like super just super entertaining, obviously, funny as fuck. He's great in it as well. Fucking love him. Yeah, and just like a film that I had, while watching it, that I had a lot of fun with, and was like just thoroughly entertained and just it's fucking funny, man. Yeah.
I feel kind of in the middle with that film. Like, I love a lot of it. Like, it's really entertaining for a lot of the time, and the stuff with Hulk and Thor is really, really good.
Yeah,
really great. But then like every time it would cut back to Kate Blanchett in Asgard, like just saying some monologue and being like, "I'm evil because
backstory.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I don't care about this at all.
Yeah.
So I kind of just got bored of that. And then at the end, it kind of felt like they didn't leave any room for emotion. They just like went full on comedy the whole way. Like there's that moment where, spoilers, Asgard gets blown up. And it's like, you'd think a massive emotional moment for like Thor and everyone, and it's like totally undercut because Taika Waititi just like tells
to put a joke in there.
Yeah, he just tells some joke. I can't remember what it is.
It's the Foundation's joke where he's like, "Oh, we can rebuild."
Oh, that's right.
The foundations are still there, and then the planet blows up.
That's
and he's
right.
like, "Oh, those foundations are gone." Sorry, man.
Yeah, and it's like you had a chance to do something real with Thor's character in that moment, and it's kind of frustrating because the reason that Kevin Feige wanted to hire Taika is because he saw Boy and was amazed at the balance of comedy and emotion in that film, and that part is missing from Thor, which is really annoying. So hopefully,
I hated Ragnarok when I came out of it the first time.
Right,
I hated it because of that.
Right,
because every time that something like emotionally driven would happen, he'd like shove a bad joke in there.
Yeah,
sometimes it would be like a good joke, but like sometimes like a lot of the times it was just like a real like kind of like a cringy joke. I was like,
yeah.
Like the Foundations joke, I just don't like.
It's not a very good joke.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like Taika thinks he's a bit funnier than he is, to be honest. Yeah.
I think Taika's funnier by himself than he is when he's like doing a film.
Right.
I think he's funnier like just as a person.
Right.
He improvises as himself a lot.
Than
he does writing.
That bothers me sometimes as well, because like you have someone like ask him like, so what were you thinking about when you made this character decision or when you used this filmmaking technique? And he just say like, I don't know, I just improved it or whatever. He just turns everything into a joke, even in real life.
Yeah.
And like sometimes it's funny, but then sometimes it's like, no, I actually want to learn something from you.
Yeah.
And you're not even letting me do that. So that can be frustrating.
Yeah. Cool. So what do I get to now? Like number 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, number 3. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Nice.
It was the first, because I think the previous MCU films I'd seen in theaters were the first and the third Iron Man, and I don't even remember seeing the first Iron Man. My mum like informed me I'd seen the first Iron Man. Like after Endgame, she was like, "I took you to that," and I was like, "Really?" But no, and so I went to my mate's house, and I was like, "Oh, what are you doing tonight?" He's like, "I'm going to go to Guardians of the Galaxy," and I'd seen like a trailer. I think I had no clue what was going on, and he was like, "Come with me." And I was like, okay. So we went to it, and literally we got home immediately, tried to find it online because we were trying to rewatch the film like immediately. It just had immediately such a rewatchability factor to it. It's such like an upbeat, fun film. And it's like Thor Ragnarok, but they do take their times to take time away so they can have emotional moments. The Groot moment towards the end, the "We Are Groot" moment is literally, I think, one of the most emotional scenes in the MCU. Like it's so well done, and it's a tree who's ever said like one line in the entire film, voiced by Vin Diesel. I cried. It's like the same in Ant-Man when they shot an ant, and I cried. Marvel had like a weird thing back in like Phase 2, where they would make you cry over like things you wouldn't think you would cry over when the film began. And it's because Marvel kind of, especially with Guardians and with James Gunn, he knew how to build up the characters in like a way that you'd really care about them by the end and make them each feel like an actual person. Like, I feel like my biggest complaint with Age of Ultron, I don't know if it's really there. It might be there with Infinity War. But some of the Avengers just kind of feel like the same character, just copied and pasted. Some of the time. They're just like superpower, bit snarky.
Yeah.
But with the Guardians, it feels like they're all their own individual characters. Like Star-Lord's like the kind of playboy, but he's still like, he was kidnapped from Earth when he was like 7. So he's got the mentality of like a 7-year-old. So he's never really grown up. And then you've got Drax, who's really like oblivious to fucking everything. Gamora, who's like your more like no nonsense kind of person, and then Rocket and Groot, who are just kind of the heart of the film, and every character feels like their own person and someone like like you feel like by the end of it, like the characters.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the soundtrack as well.
Oh,
I think I can't go without mentioning that. Yeah. I think Matt. I think like for a while we just talked about the soundtrack after we finished the film. Yeah, because it's such a good soundtrack. I think he was just talking about it the other day, James Gunn, about the soundtrack for the third one.
Oh yeah,
because someone asked on his like Instagram something like, "Is there any song you're not putting in the third one?" Like what's the most annoying like request? It's Dancing in the Moonlight, apparently.
Oh, okay.
He said that he just doesn't want to put it in because so many people have asked him to.
Nice. Well, fair enough.
Yeah, but like it's that's also what I like, is that the music that he uses isn't the kind of music that you'd associate with a superhero film, like, naturally.
Yeah. And also a lot of those old classics, like, weren't even classic. Like, a lot of them were, like, not even that well known.
Yeah.
Until the movie came out.
There's a song in, like, in Guardians 2, and someone suggested to him, and even James Gunn didn't know it was, like, a 70s song.
Right.
But yeah, and so I just feel like the entire film just stands on its own entirely.
Right.
It doesn't feel very much like an MCU film. You can watch it without watching any other MCU film.
Yeah, exactly.
And it feels like its own thing.
It's a good, like, first movie for MCU people if they say no to Iron Man.
Yeah.
You say, okay, what about this one?
Yeah.
And, okay, they're probably just as likely to say no. But if they do enjoy that, then, it's really good for them.
Yeah. Because it fits in with the formula of Marvel films without being too formulaic Marvel film. Yeah,
exactly.
Which I also really like. And it's got the highest body count of any film ever made.
Body count?
Yeah.
Like dead people?
Yeah.
Because
I think it's like an actual, like,
but what
proven
about
fact.
What about Infinity War?
Yeah, I might have been before Infinity War was released, but it's because they kill all of the cops at the end.
Oh, that when that thing blows up?
Yeah, when all the cops die at the end. Like, there's like millions of them, and they all blow up, and so immediately the film got, like, highest body count of its time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a good, is that a bonus for you?
Oh, yeah, highest body count.
Oh, okay.
Love the body count.
Cool. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
It is. Time for my number 3. I've already talked about it a little bit, but Spider-Man Homecoming. Fantastic Spider-Man movie. Literally bringing him home, you know. And like I said before, it melds really well with the rest of the MCU. So it feels like very natural, and it's a great film. I also love coming of age stories. I love, like, how they didn't have to repeat so much of what they'd done in previous Spider-Man movies, and they kind of had his own spin on it, being like having a Stark suit that he's like all whiz to play with and like doesn't kind of know how to use it properly and stuff. And the Vulture, the Michael Keaton, is like so good, and has that excellent scene in the car where he's just like it's kind of similar to that Obadiah Stane scene in Iron Man, where he's like so menacing but like can't reveal at the time that he's a villain, but they know that it's him, or he's like figuring out that he's Spider-Man. Right? So subtly, and then the girlfriend is just like completely oblivious to what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And she's actually part of the reason that he finds out. And it's just so well done. And there's like the moment where they're like waiting at the red lights, and then when he figures it out that he's Spider-Man, the light goes green and you see the green on his face. And it's beautiful. That scene is like, that is filmmaking. That is why I love watching these movies.
MCU Spider-Man scene.
Yeah. Like, and it's probably one of the best scenes in all of the MCU.
Yeah.
Fair.
Anyway, there's my Spider-Man round.
Fair. My number 2 pick is Ant-Man. So similar reasons of liking it to Eamon, and that fucking love Edgar Wright, and you can just tell that Edgar Wright's fingerprints are like on it. You know what I mean? Like he's left his trace. He's left his trace there. And because of that, and because of the fact that, you know, it has the heist elements to it, just makes it a film that is a lot of fun. And to be honest, I wasn't really, because when I had heard about it, like the whole idea of Ant-Man, I was just like, what a fucking lame fucking superhero. So fucking stupid. Fuck off. But then, like, having watched it, I'm kind of like, okay, this is fucking sick. I know. I think, and it's probably because it's, you know, a factor of the fact that it's, you know, in a genre that you don't really like expect, you know what I mean? Like in regards to heist films and that, and being a fan of heist films as well, like fucking love a good heist, man. Who doesn't love a good heist? Fucking sick. And so just had, and again, it's, you know, one of those films which I just had a lot of fun with watching it, and was just really enjoyed it, like highly enjoyed it. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
So my number 2 is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Like with Ant-Man, kind of with Guardians as well. It's a superhero film in a genre you wouldn't expect a superhero film to be in. It's like a political like thriller, but with Captain America. And I think it's the Russo brothers' first MCU film. And I can't remember what sitcom they were picked up from. Was it Arrested Development?
It was initially, and then they did Community after that.
Yeah,
and that's where they.
I thought it was also Community, but I was like, but no, and you can tell that they like understand character work through that because you've got Steve. I think has one of the most consistent character story arcs in the entirety of the MCU. And then same with Bucky.
Yeah,
and Sebastian Stan like I think he maybe has like 3 lines in the entirety of Winter Soldier. And he's so good with just his eyes for like half the film.
Yeah.
And so Sebastian Stan's like immediately top of like one of the top MCU actors.
Yeah.
I think at the moment he's just killing it. And it's such like I think what I really enjoy about Winter Soldier is not only is it like a political thriller superhero film, but it's also like a drama between Steve and Bucky. I don't like the ship, Steve and Bucky.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm going to get picked on. I don't like the Steve Bucky ship. I think it's a really good example of just 2 male characters being really good friends that you don't see a lot in film, because films don't like to normally have 2 male characters being really good friends. Because they're worried about it coming off as too gay. But with Steve and Bucky, it did come off as a bit gay. But they really went for it, and it's like Bucky is like the last thing holding Steve to his like past life.
Yeah.
So of course Steve would care about him, and so it's like this whole like drama between Steve trying to reconnect with his past through Bucky, who doesn't remember his own past, and it's just this great little. It's like a nice drama. And then you've got Black Widow being fucking amazing. And the introduction of Falcon.
Yeah, I forgot she was in that movie.
Yeah.
But she's like quite a big part of it. Eh?
Yeah, I think she is. I think it's probably one of her best films.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's such a fun film that's so well made, and like everyone involved with it just understands the characters they're working with. I also think that's because the writers for the film did every Captain America project.
Yeah.
So they did, I think it's like Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely.
Yeah.
Did, I think, First Avenger. Then the only one they missed was one of the first 2 Avengers. Either Avengers 1 or Avengers 2. They missed one of them.
Right.
But they did all 3 Captain Americas and then Infinity War and Endgame. And you can tell that they really understand Steve.
Yeah.
And the story surrounding Steve, and they have a lot of respect for him. So I just like the respect and the kind of, I don't know, I like the film.
Yeah, most people do. My turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. My number 2 film is Infinity War. Which I kind of spoke about. I did speak about earlier when I talked about that great scene with Tony. Did I talk about that? We briefly talked about it.
Because then we realized that we were supposed to be talking about a different film entirely.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's like one of my favorite scenes, and that's right, because I was talking to you about having the build up, right? The character build up, and like the moment that in that moment, I felt so much emotion for Tony as a character, and what he was going through, because I'd kind of experienced that leading up to that, all of that. And that's why so many people who were like, oh, there's too many characters in Avengers Infinity War, it's never going to work. But like they made it work really well. By half the characters not really being that big of a part of the film, and like just focusing on a few people. And those characters that they focused on were so interesting and so well done. Tony's really interesting. And it just feels so dramatic and exciting, I think. To see his character in that place. And then Doctor Strange is so much better than he was in his own movie. He's so much more interesting and does some cool stuff. And and Tom Holland's really great as Spider-Man as well. And yet there's so much stuff in that movie. Like the whole Thanos and Gamora and stuff. That's all like quite a big part of it, isn't it? I can't.
Yeah.
To be honest, part of my memory of the two movies is getting mixed up here. I'm pretty sure I'm thinking of Infinity War is the one where they go to
Vormir, and then he throws Gamora off the cliff.
Oh, that's right. Wait,
Yeah.
does that happen in Infinity War? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no. She gets.
thinking
she
of-
falls the cliff in Infinity War, and Black Widow falls the cliff in Endgame.
That's right. So there's a lot of stuff. Spoilers, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't be listening to the top 5 MCU movies if you haven't watched it.
I mean, like we've already spoiled quite a decent amount.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, because for some reason I thought it was an Endgame, but no, it's not. Yeah, there's all that stuff because I was thinking about the scene where they go to nowhere and they meet the Collector.
Oh yeah.
And he gets the stone.
No, that's first Guardians.
What?
Which
No,
who gets,
in Infinity War,
Thanos gets the stone.
Yeah, Thanos gets the Reality
okay.
Stone.
They mean like
Yeah,
Collector gets the stone.
No. Yeah,
No.
sorry. Yeah, I like that scene a lot. And yeah, that whole storyline with Thanos is introduced so well. For basically, he's had no screen time before that. He's had like a couple scenes in the Guardians movies,
And then, like,
or in the first Guardians movie.
the end credit scene.
Yeah, and Avengers. Yeah. Which I love that scene, by the way. I'm going to talk briefly about why I love the end credit scene in Age of Ultron, when he comes and says, "Fine, I'll do it myself." And this is a complete tangent that has not really related to Infinity War. But I've heard people complain about the scene because
he's getting the glove from a completely different place.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. The timeline. It's not very clear what the timeline is in the movies. But my complaint is less about the glove itself and more about his intention. Some people complain because he says, "Fine, I'll do it myself," and then he sends his children instead of going to the planet himself. Is that what I'm thinking? I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. He just sends other people. He says, "I'll do it myself," and then he just sends other people to go do it.
Yeah, and he waits for that for like ages for it to happen and stuff.
Yeah.
And some people were like would say that that scene like shouldn't exist. Like it doesn't make sense to be there. But like I don't know about the timeline and stuff, like it is confusing, but that's not really what I care about. What I care about is just the moment in that scene, what you read out of that. And for me, that kind of gave the notion that Thanos was recognizing that he kind of sent an Infinity Stone to Earth with Loki. And he sent Loki originally to like take over the planet for him, to secure it for him, so that he can then go and get the rest of the stones. And that failed because Loki's an idiot. And then his backup plan was also giving him the Mind Stone and knowing that the Mind Stone had the capability of taking over the planet on its own, which it almost did with Ultron. And so that's him recognizing, I've tried and failed to get someone else to do it for me. No, I'm just going to go do it for myself. And that's what excited me about that, is that the promise that he was going to come to Earth and kick some ass. And then he did, in Infinity War. And so it was good. That's why I like that scene. It's because of the promise that it gave you. Anyway, that wasn't talking about Infinity War. But I think I said enough about Infinity War already, really. I love the first, 10 minutes where it's like that ship comes down and, Spider-Man is there, gets off the bus, and Tony's, outside because they were, talking with Bruce and stuff.
Yeah.
And then
it's the, fight in the New York sequence.
Yeah. And it's kind of that...
strange being, thrown around.
Yeah, the dread... of everyone running around and everything just before the ship lands and Squidward gets off the ship.
And the fact that I put no music with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is. It's quite...
Same with the snap at the end. There's no music during that.
Yeah, it's quite chilling, isn't it?
Yeah.
It adds to that chilling feeling that you get that I can't exactly put into words. But I think you know what I'm talking about if you understand and have experienced it the same way. Yeah.
Are we doing honorable mentions or no?
Well, it's just the rest of the movies, right? I don't know if
maybe some of them are not honorable mentions. Maybe
we should do dishonorable mentions. Maybe we'll just say what your least favorite one is.
Well, you know what mine is.
Is it Infinity War?
Yeah.
All right. Argue against what I just said.
My major thing with Infinity War is
the context is that he hadn't seen any of the necessary previous movies.
Here's the thing though, is that my two like two major qualms with it was that in the first couple of scenes of Infinity War, you can't see shit. It was just poorly lit or something. I don't know what was up.
Where did you see this movie?
On my laptop.
From what source?
From my laptop.
Did you? Was it like HD quality, or did you watch
I'm
it?
pretty sure it was HD. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just looked like
So
shit.
questionable quality on a questionable quality
Did you watch
screen.
it with all like the curtains open?
No.
Did you have headphones in at least?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank God.
Some
and then my
points.
second.
I don't think I don't think you can judge lighting quality when you watch something on your laptop. I just don't think you can.
I don't think it's a viable.
And then the second thing was the whole thing of like it just felt like they were trying to cram all these characters into it. And I know Ben has a major issue with that. But having said that, I didn't feel that for Endgame. Like the problems that I have with Infinity War, I did not have with Endgame. And so logic would state if I hadn't like your whole thing is that it's because I hadn't seen all the things, right? Or the previous shit.
Yeah.
Right? But surely I would have the same issue with Endgame then. So why didn't I have the same issue with Endgame?
Because they focus on less characters.
Because you'd seen the previous movie before Endgame, maybe.
What?
Like you saw Infinity War. And that was the the most necessary movie.
Had you seen Avengers and Age of Ultron before Infinity War?
Yes.
Okay, that's something different.
I think the most important films for Endgame are Infinity War and Civil War mostly because of the relationship between Steve and Tony. And you'd seen those before you saw Endgame.
Yeah.
So you kind of had seen the most important ones. You just hadn't seen the character leading up to Infinity War. But once you were at Infinity War, you already understood the characters.
Yeah.
So I think that's why you didn't need as much introduction because it wasn't like completely fresh. Like most of the characters in Infinity War you'd never seen on screen before. Whereas in Endgame you'd seen them all because you'd watched Infinity War.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a key reason why it wasn't quite as big a deal.
Interesting. I think maybe also the aspect of Endgame as well was the fact that I went in with very low expectations.
Right.
Because I was like, this is gonna be shit. Infinity War shit. So surely Endgame would be shit. But then I was like, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Yeah. So that's my dishonorable mention. Because I was gonna say for honorable mentions, and the only reason why I have it as an honorable mention is because it's technically not an MCU film. That's Deadpool.
Oh, right.
Fucking love Deadpool.
I mean, yeah, it's not.
It might be soon, depending on how they integrate him into it.
They could
They could just
reset the
retcon
canon.
it so the two Deadpool films.
I think more likely it's like he literally jumps into a different universe, right?
Yeah.
Like walks through a door into the MCU.
I saw like a idea, like theory for how they could do it, and I really like it. That you start off Deadpool 3 with you bring back all the cast of the 20th Century Fox films as they all die. And then only him and his supporting cast jump through to our universe.
Right.
And then he has to pitch to Kevin Feige why he would make a good MCU character. But like Kevin Feige is played by like John Malkovich, and then you have like Scarlett Johansson and Jeremy Renner as like his like bodyguards. And like you have like cameos from like every Marvel character, like actor.
It sounds extremely expensive.
Yeah, but like, and then at the very end, he like finally is allowed in, and he goes into the MCU, and he just never mentions it again. Like, no one ever brings up the third Deadpool film again. Like, it's just like a weird. I don't know who said it. It's not my idea. It might.
No one brings up the third Deadpool movie.
Yeah, which would be that movie.
Wait, you're saying the movie ends with him going into the MCU?
Yeah, like
that's not just the first 10 minutes.
Nope, the entire film is just him pitching to Kevin Feige why he would make
that sounds
good
like
MCU film.
A terrible movie if that's the whole movie. If it's the first 10 minutes, it sounds all right. But if it's the whole movie, it's going to get a bit boring.
Yeah.
I'd anticipate. Because I think they could do a good job of having him literally move into a different universe and then just pick up from there. And I think that would be fine. Because then then they focus on making a good Deadpool movie for the rest of it.
Fair.
Yeah. But yeah, nice honorable mention.
Yeah.
I suppose. Technically. Sort of.
Technically.
That's why.
Time will tell.
That's only what, that's why.
Time will tell whether or not that counts.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe by the time this podcast actually comes out, then we will know. We might do. Anyway.
My dishonorable mention, it's probably the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I just think it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
He really doesn't do much. It's like it tries to be like a really like serious like superhero film, but it just kind of comes off as a bit boring.
I haven't watched it in a while, but I always felt that I really enjoyed like maybe the first 2/3 of the movie, where it's like kind of him on the run.
Yeah,
and,
no,
like,
I wish the whole film had been like him on the run.
Yeah,
because about halfway through the film, they just kind of forget that he's on the run, and he just starts walking around in public.
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah,
where did this entire aspect of the story go?
Yeah,
like did anyone just forget that he's a criminal?
Yeah, exactly. And then there's like that big fight in New York City,
with Abomination.
Yeah, and that it just is lame, and the way the Hulk talks is really weird.
Yeah.
At the end there. They just hadn't kind of fully.
They hadn't figured out what they were doing yet.
Yeah, figured out Hulk's character.
Yeah, or just the MCU. They just hadn't figured it out. They were like, right. We want to put Hulk in the Avengers.
Yeah,
and then they recast Edward Norton anyway. Yeah. And it's
Funny enough,
so I reckon Edward Norton should come back as Bruce Banner in Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, right.
I reckon they should do like a reveal in Multiverse of Madness that the Incredible Hulk film is like a parallel universe film.
Yeah.
The entire time. And they're just, it's because like, is any of the actual story ever mentioned again? Like General Ross shows up, but he's got a completely different job.
Yeah, he doesn't talk about it.
I don't know if you've seen the Shang-Chi trailer.
No, I haven't. I haven't seen it. I don't watch trailers.
But there's something from Hulk in that trailer.
Okay.
And it doesn't look anything like it did in Incredible Hulk.
Right.
And it's like, why would you... So just put Incredible Hulk and just be like, it's a Multiverse Madness film. Right. It's Doctor Strange goes there, he meets Bruce Banner, they have a talk. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure half the reason why they recast the Hulk was because apparently Edward Norton was like super difficult to work with.
Yeah.
Like he wanted to like change fucking a bunch of shit and stuff.
Yeah.
And so they were like, yeah, you're gone.
I actually like think Mark Ruffalo would have done really well in that role. Because like I've seen him in a lot of stuff since, and I just love him as an actor, and I think he can do that. That kind of like quite serious mannered person, but also like capable of like having some good comedic moments as well, which I think Ed Norton kind of just doesn't do that well. I think when he tries to be comedic, he just isn't funny.
Yeah.
In that movie anyway. So I think it would have been amazing if we had the right timeline and Mark Ruffalo had been cast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, my least favorite, I think, I'll just double check my Letterboxd list, but yeah, it's Doctor Strange. I hate Doctor Strange. I think it's so boring. It's the first like Marvel movie I came out of actually actively hating it. There are other movies like Thor and Thor: The Dark World, the Dark World I kind of was met on the whole time, and I still am. But like the first Thor movie, I loved it when I first saw it, and now it's like my third least favorite or something, or maybe not third or fourth or something. Like it's so much more boring now that I see it. But Doctor Strange, when I saw that for the first time, I was like, I think I was quite hyped for it. I kind of hyped myself up a bit for it. And it just did nothing for me at all. I wasn't interested in his character at all. He seemed
like a douchier Tony Stark.
Yeah, he's a douche, and he never kind of learns to not be a douche, does he?
Yeah, no, he's just kind of a douche.
And the villain, even though I love Mads Mikkelsen, he was like barely even acting in that movie. It's like, this character is barely a living being, you know, like, yeah, it was like just quite boring on a lot of levels. There's one great scene with Tilda Swinton when like she slows down the rain and stuff. Yeah. Pauses time, whatever, and looks into the future. Doesn't she? Is that what she? Oh.
No, it's when she's dying, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And they slow down, and you see like it's that cool shot of like the lightning, like behind the helicopter.
Yeah,
It's all slow motion, and it looks really cool.
That was a good scene, but other than that, did not care for that.
I think the visual effects are cool. I think the music was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. I have it like my bottom 5. I think it's kind of chilling down there with all the other ones I don't like.
But I'm so much more excited for the second movie because
Sam Raimi. I don't know what the fuck I said wrong.
Sam Raimi's he's directing it, and like that's just so much more exciting than some random horror director. Yeah. Like indie guy.
I want to see more of Wanda as well.
And Wanda's going to be a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
Which is very exciting. And just now that Doctor Strange's character is just so much more interesting because of Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
So excited for that.
Fair. All right, number 1 is Guardians of the Galaxy. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. It was just the one that I had the most fun with. And I think a big part of that is the fucking soundtrack. It's just what a bop. And I think I think the major strength of the soundtrack is the fact that it's so tied to Quill's character.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just so tied to him as a character, and it's basically like just his like mixtape, right, the entire time. And yeah, so it's sort of interesting how that sort of plays such a huge role in it. And we're like, because you think about your average soundtrack and what kind of role that plays in your average movie, right? And it's really usually just music just chucked on the background, right? Like,
Sort
that's
of,
about
yeah.
So yeah, it's just interesting how they did that. And then you've also just got the fact that it's just like, yeah, that it's a lot of fun, and you've got the sort of like comedic elements sort of in it as well, but like sort of not really like not. It's not like trying like too hard to be funny, and to be comedic in that. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I like it, and that's why it's not my number one. Yeah.
My number one's Endgame.
Oh, yeah. Fair.
Yeah. No, I just found Endgame really enjoyable. It's such a well put together film. Like it actually feels like it is like the culmination of like those, what was it, like 21 movies leading up to that? Yeah. And they handled all the, like, it's the Russo brothers, and it's the same scriptwriters I've talked about before, who just kind of understand Steve and they understand Tony by that point. And so they're able to craft like a really interesting story out of it, like with all these characters. And due to the ending of Infinity War, they kind of whittle down the characters to the more interesting ones.
Yeah.
And so they focus on the interesting ones and give them more to do. And even some like less interesting ones get stuff to do. Like Rocket, I don't think had really had much to do. I think he got more to do in the second Guardians, but he was kind of just sidelined for Infinity War.
Yeah,
and then they gave him. He was in Infinity War.
He had that good scene with Thor, but that was pretty much it.
That was Thor's scene, though. Yeah, it wasn't really Rocket's scene. You don't learn more about Rocket. But yeah, and so Rocket's given so much more to do, and you find out like how much he cares for the rest of the Guardians. You have like a great character arc with Nebula. Get more Black Widow. Get Hawkeye. I've said this in my Civil War thing. I love Hawkeye. I think he's underplayed entirely. I can't wait for his show.
I forgot he's got a show.
Yeah, and I can't wait for a show. I love Hawkeye. I think Hawkeye deserves so much better than what he's been given. But no, and they handle all the characters so well. I think the only character I don't like how they fully handle is Thor. That's mainly because they use his PTSD as kind of the butt of jokes every now and again. Right. And it's not every time they deal with his PTSD, but they do it enough times where I was like, it's kind of it's starting to feel like you're just kind of making fun of people with mental health rather than like talking about it. You're just kind of giving them shit.
Fair.
I felt like it was more balanced than, for example, like Thor Ragnarok in terms of treating his character. It's not entirely comedic because he does have that great scene with his mum. Yeah. So I think his character's a little bit more balanced there, and I felt he was really entertaining. I think the character for me that was kind of let down was Hulk. Yeah. Because like he had like a lot of development in Ragnarok and Infinity War, and then they just totally jumped over his like most interesting transformation.
It's because that's a deleted scene from Infinity War.
What is?
Him merging is a deleted scene from Infinity War.
Oh, really?
It's when he's in the Hulkbuster armor, and they released like toys of it and everything.
Oh, right.
Where him and Hulk come to like an agreement during the final battle of Infinity War, and then merge, and then Hulk like bursts out of the Hulkbuster armor to fight. And so, that's like a whole deleted scene. And it is Smart Hulk because there's even a bit towards the end where like he actually talks to Nat as Smart Hulk, and everyone's just kind of standing there like half the universe has just been killed, and they're all just standing there like what's fucking going on with this man? But no, and so that's I do think they could have handled that better. It's Hulk and Thor, I think, who kind of got the most let down in that film.
Right.
But that doesn't take away from just everything else I love in that film. You give Tony so much more development. You give Tony a daughter, and you kind of close off Tony's story, especially with the scene with Tony's dad.
Yeah, I love that scene.
Which is just it fully closes off Tony's character. Once you get that scene, you're like, this is the end for Tony.
Yeah, because
that's the last bit from Tony's past that he needed to close off.
Another reason why you should have watched Iron Man 2 before you watched Endgame.
Yeah, and so I just think, and then, you know, the final battle scene, I think you sat down and watched the ending of Endgame with me when you got back to work from one day.
Yeah, probably.
And I think I caught Matt like looking at me every now and again, because I know the entire like last like half hour off by heart, and so I was just sitting there like reciting it under my breath, and every now and again I'd like look over and Matt was like just staring at me. Like it's got to the point where I know like the end credits music off by heart, like I hum the entire end credits. But no, I've rewatched that film so many times. I love that film. And it closes off Steve's arc beautifully. I don't care what anyone fucking says.
Yeah, I think the way they handled the characters was great. That the time heist was great.
Oh,
I love that so much.
Even though they got spoiled like 8 months before the film came out.
Yeah, that was really annoying.
They filmed outside scenes with Steve in his like 2012 suit.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, time travel.
Yeah. That was annoying, but yeah, it was great. It was really great. I felt that the final battle was just like a big CGI fest. It was a little bit too much for me and not enough not enough character moments in that until the actual final bit with Thanos and Tony, really. But you know, it's like fair enough. Like it's a big battle scene with all the Avengers. Like fair enough to have some fun with it. I thought they could have staged it a bit better. It was just all a bit like dark, purpley kind of everything. And,
and then they kind of fucked up a bit and forgot where Ant-Man was.
Is there like a timeline issue or something?
Yeah, it's like he flies into the van with Wasp.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we're going to have to hotwire it. And then you cut to like Steve, I think, and he's like on the comms, and like in the background you can see Ant-Man like punching something.
Oh, really?
Like giant on the other side of the battlefield. And it's like, oh, well.
It must have been like they just moved that scene with Steve to earlier or something. They already had done the VFX and forgot to take him out. Yeah.
And the same thing, like it's really cool how I do think they thought the battle scene out quite a bit. Like there was like some like bits where they cut around like the giant Ant-Man in the background, but like when they're all like running, like if you look, you can see like Ant-Man like holding Spider-Man's web as they're running, so Spider-Man can swing. Because you see him swinging in the final battle, and if you like watch as they're all running, you can see like the webs like attached to Ant-Man's hand.
Is he Giant Man at that point?
Yeah, he's giant, like when they're all running.
Yeah,
and he's like he's holding Spider-Man so he can swing into battle.
That makes sense.
Which is like a really cool little detail that they just like shoved in.
Like I love how the battle was set up from the beginning with the whole Avengers compound just being suddenly blown up.
Oh yeah,
that was really cool. And then how at first it's just Steve and Tony and Thor fighting Thanos. That's really cool. I think when everyone comes in, it's just like, it's a bit much.
I do want. Apparently, they did a version of the music that plays when they all come through the portals. Apparently, the composer recently revealed that they recorded a version with like a choir in the background.
Oh, really?
And he decided that was too much, so he took it out. But I really want to hear the choir version now. I want to hear what that sounds like. I reckon that would be beautiful.
Yeah, the other thing I don't like about the movie is the way they treated Captain Marvel. Like, because I don't know, some people don't like it, but I really like the Captain Marvel movie. And I felt it did a really good job with her character, like establishing who she was and stuff.
And she was like hardly in Endgame.
Yeah, and then she's like, kind of not used basically at all and is the most uninteresting character. Like, she just doesn't have a proper introduction. Like, it's not that the audience needs to be introduced because audiences know who her is, but the audience should be.
That's hardcore fans know who she is now. If you're just going to Avengers Endgame because you saw Infinity War last year,
exactly,
and you don't know it's part of a you don't know who this glowing lady is,
exactly. Like, so part of it is that like there should be a little bit introduction of who she is through the eyes of all these characters who have never met her before until like her end credit scene. Yeah, it was her end credit scene, and because that had like all the Infinity War characters in it, or in the Endgame characters in that end credit scene, I thought that was like a scene from Endgame.
Yeah,
And we were going to see that play out and see the actual connection there, but they just didn't have that.
It was this like weird thing where like they show her meeting them and then cut out everything where like she's introduced to a new audience.
Yeah.
And then immediately just go to, she's just now a part of the team, I guess.
Yeah, one of the things that I remember...
They just suddenly trust her.
I remember the Russo brothers and the writers talking about in their Infinity War director's commentary was something they call strange alchemy, which is talking about the interaction between two characters from different movies that kind of, and the way that they interact. So, for example, when Doctor Strange first meets Tony Stark is a really cool moment.
Yeah.
And it's just like an exciting buzz to kind of know how they would interact with each other. And they just didn't have that with Captain Marvel's character.
Yeah.
It was the last person that was yet to be introduced to everyone else, and they kind of so that was missing for me. And then when she comes back at the end, it's just like, yeah, I'm going to blow everything up now. I'm just like, oh, really? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
I also don't like how
I feel
she
like it was
got...
a bit undeserved.
Yeah. I also don't think she kind of deserved that fight with Thanos. She fought Thanos, and I don't... Like, I get why they put her up against Thanos, but I reckon, like, I think it was like a huge missed opportunity to have like Drax go up against Thanos or like Nebula go up against Thanos. Because
Drax
those would have made those would have made more sense.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel, who'd never seen this dude before.
Yeah.
She just turned up at a battlefield and there was like a giant purple dude trying to get a glove and she was like, I'll fight him.
Yeah. I mean,
but
I
like
guess
Drax had like a personal vendetta against him and Nebula had been abused by him her entire life.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, those two characters don't need to have a fight.
Yeah.
We'll just put Drax... I don't even know what Drax was doing.
I remember one shot of him just stabbing
he like
some guy
jumped on the
real
back
fast.
of some dude, was just standing.
Yeah, that's all I remember.
Yeah. I don't think he was ever in any other scene in that fight.
Mm.
The next you see him, he's wearing a shirt.
Wearing what?
He's wearing a shirt at like Tony's funeral, and it's like the only time
really
Drax ever wears a shirt.
I don't remember that.
It's the only time. Yeah, if you look, he's wearing like a black vest. He's never wearing a shirt in any other shot in the MCU.
That's your number one.
That's my number one.
Yeah.
My number one is Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I'm kind of both amazed and appalled that there hasn't been a better movie since The Winter Soldier. Because like Infinity War and Endgame are great movies. I mean, actually Endgame, for all those reasons I just said, is not even in my top 5. But like Infinity War and Spider-Man, great movies, but they're still not as fantastic all around, especially in the way that it kind of stands alone, tells its own story, and just is kind of quite far removed from being a superhero movie, which is like what I said is my most favorite thing about these movies is when they're not really about the superhero stuff.
Yeah.
It's done so well, and the Hydra twist is really great. Sucks for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. writers, but that was, I mean, it only made the show better anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just so good. It was so good and so well done, and there's nothing bad I can say about the movie, pretty much at all that I can think of.
Yeah.
Like, I love it, every inch of it.
Fair. And
who knows? Maybe they'll make a better movie one day, but I don't know if they need to, because I stopped caring at this point. Like after Endgame, I'm just like, if the movies are good, then that's great. But if they're bad, I actually don't really care because I'm not as invested anymore, to be honest. So I'm glad that we have one fantastic film, like, period. Like, it doesn't have to be ranked among MCU films. It's just a great film.
Yeah, because you would say you're like caring for the MCU in the whole has like gone down since Endgame, right?
Yeah.
It was like Endgame and then it's sort of like done for you.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm now watching them a lot more casually.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So is that the same for like the shows that are coming out as well? It is
the same.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even start watching WandaVision until maybe 5 episodes.
And
I binged the first 5 episodes and I slowly fell in love with it. And then every episode after that, it slowly went down again. I got less interested.
No, I think I said to Matt when we watched it, episode 5 is like my favorite one.
Yeah, that's like the peak.
Yeah, that's the peak of WandaVision.
Yeah, and then it goes down because then it just became a big superhero showdown at the end, which is again what I just said I don't like.
Yeah.
And I didn't even watch the Captain America one. I just don't care. I just don't care about this. Don't care enough about those characters.
Yeah.
And I don't really believe it's I don't know if it's necessary to watch, but jokes on me if it is. But
might be for Captain America 4.
But like, yeah. I mean, maybe, but I don't think I don't care enough to watch a whole 6-hour, 10-hour TV show before watching that movie. Like, I trust that they're gonna do enough in the movies to show that these characters have changed without just expecting the audience's members to have watched the shows as well.
Yeah,
because
like
they
on
have
a subscription fee.
Yeah,
on a streaming service that isn't available in every country.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm sure they will be smart about it. But the one I do want to keep watching is Loki, which I've watched 2 eps of so far. And I'm intrigued by it, but I still don't think it's very great. Like, I think the writing still feels quite cheap. But it's intriguing enough just because of the concept and because of what they're doing and where it feels it's leading.
Yeah.
But having said that, I felt that WandaVision was very clearly heading in one direction and then it turned around and ignored all of that quite suddenly.
Sure.
Yeah.
So maybe Loki will disappoint us all as well, but I feel like it's more likely that Loki will actually do something. Who knows? One would hope. So that's why I'm watching Loki, but yeah, I kind of am approaching it much more casual. Like if by ep 3 or 4 of Loki I am not interested, I might stop watching. I don't know, and then I'll just read the recaps online.
Fair.
If I want to find out what happened.
Yeah,
because I don't know. Like it needs to still be a good, entertaining show to keep me hooked.
Yeah,
yeah. Because I've like only
Matt's seen every episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but the 3rd one. Because you also watched them in like a weird order. You did them like you did the Marvel films. You watched like
probably
1 and 2, and then you watched like.
Well, then I watch them all, the rest of them? I just like missed 3 for some reason.
Yeah, you missed 3, and then like when we binged, when
I
binged everything, you went off to have a phone call about something for an hour and missed in the entirety of episode 3.
Yeah,
because that's still the one you haven't seen.
Yeah, so I missed it like twice. I missed it like when it came out, and then I missed it again.
Yeah, no, because you watched. I showed you episode 1 before you saw episode 2 because you were down here for like when episode 2 came out.
Oh yeah, true.
And then you went back to Auckland, and you came down again the same week episode 5 came out.
Yeah.
So then you watched episode 5.
Oh yeah.
And then when we did the marathon, you watched episodes 4 and 6 for the first time.
Yeah. I just watch everything. I don't care. I'm just like,
Yeah. You watched WandaVision in the right order, though.
Yeah.
Because we binged WandaVision like an entire night the other week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I fell asleep. I nearly fell asleep.
Yeah.
Then we got to like the flashback episode, and I liked that one. So I was like, I'll stay awake for that one, I guess.
So how do you feel about like, well, Eamon, because we've sort of already gone Ben's sort of perspective, like in terms of like the TV, like now that Marvel's sort of properly doing TV shows.
Yeah.
Like how that will like fit into it as a whole and stuff.
I think so far the 3 that they've released, they are looking to be some of the more important points of the MCU as we're going forward. Because with WandaVision, you've got, well, Wanda, and she's going to be an important figure going to Doctor Strange. Don't fucking know about Vision. I don't know if he's ever been important.
I've loved Vision since his inception.
Yeah, no, I love Vision, but I think the dude doesn't do shit.
Yeah, I guess so.
He's always just kind of off to the background saying some like philosophical stuff, and then just doesn't do much.
Yeah,
like for an Infinity War, like he should have been badass, and then like he was just kind of kicked around.
Yeah, you're right. He was.
Yeah, he was just kind of, he was used as like a soccer ball for most of Infinity
pretty
War.
much.
Yeah.
Even in like WandaVision, Vision still didn't get much to do.
Yeah.
Which was like really disappointing.
I liked the character stuff they had between her and Vision.
Oh yeah, no, I think that was like the best part of.
But then it kind of just dropped off after like ep 6 or something.
Yeah.
I think the ending of like the finale is like really good, like character work, especially with those two when they're saying goodbye.
Oh yes,
as the world's breaking down around them. I think that's really well done. I think the finale was a bit touch and go.
Right.
I think like there are aspects of the finale I really didn't like. The finale aspects of the finale I really do like. Like I can't get on board with the Ralph Boner joke at all.
Oh right, yeah.
The Evan Peters setup.
Yeah,
which just ended up as a boner joke.
Yeah,
which was just the weirdest creative decision.
It made no sense. Because like at the end of ep 5 when he's introduced, like to me that was just like the X-Men are in this universe now. Like that was
something like Wanda's fucked up.
Yeah.
And something's happened.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, no, he's some just random dude called Ralph Boner.
Yeah. Like, and he could still, like, that could have been a fake name or something, but
Yeah.
like, it's
Because
still
they-
like, it still is kind of telling the audience that you know what they're, that you know of the fan theories and things, and you're just screwing with them just because you can,
Yeah.
which I don't think's a very
Yeah.
good way to go about it.
Yeah.
And it played on the fact that the episodes came out weekly. They knew that people would be
Yeah.
speculating and everything. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, we could.
And I think Marvel
you know.
has actually spoken out about that recently, and they were like, we did fuck up on that.
Oh, really?
We did make a huge mistake trying to fuck you guys over with every episode, and we didn't realize how badly we were going to screw it up with like WandaVision. So like I think they're taking like a different approach.
Right.
Their later shows, which is good because I don't think the Agatha twist was like predicted from like day one.
Oh, that was so dumb. Yeah.
Yeah, I
hated
did not like that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like WandaVision should have been a show without a villain. I think it should have been
Right.
Marvel's first project without a villain. I
Well,
think Wanda
because
should have
Wanda
been the
was
villain.
the villain.
But yeah, Wanda was like a straight up villain. Like she deserves prison time.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure she's like, yeah, she did some bad shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's like stuff they missed out entirely in WandaVision. Like apparently there's a deleted scene. It's not even deleted. They just didn't finish it in time. Where Monica, the twins, Darcy, and Ralph have to break into Agatha's crypt to get the book for Wanda.
All right.
And then the rabbit turns out to be a demon, and like they have to fight the rabbit. Which would explain the rabbit, which was like a big point for the show. And she kept like the rabbit kept being like teased or something.
Oh, I don't remember the rabbit.
Yeah, no, she kept like in the show, like Agatha kept being like, the rabbit. She kept like just pointing at the rabbit or doing like something to the rabbit. And then at one point the rabbit like ate like a live bird. And you're like, what the fuck's going on with the rabbit? And then they just never explained it.
I don't remember any of that.
Yeah. That's how memorable the rabbit was.
Right.
And then there was something else. The commercials were supposed to be Doctor Strange, apparently.
Really?
Apparently the commercials were Kevin Feige confirmed the other week that the commercials were supposed to be Doctor Strange trying to get to Wanda.
Oh, really?
But just Benedict Cumberbatch was too busy, so they couldn't get him.
Huh.
He was making whatever movie he released lately. I think he released a movie recently.
Korea?
Yeah, he was making that one, so he just couldn't do it.
That's lame.
So they just but they kept the commercials in, which then the commercials just meant fucking nothing. Because then there was the big fan theory that the commercials were the people in the commercials were Wanda's parents.
Oh, okay.
And then they introduced Wanda's parents and they were different people.
Yeah.
So the commercials. So WandaVision kept introducing things and just not delivering on them, which I got kind of annoyed with.
Yeah.
In Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think was a really well handled show. I think once again there's an entire plot point which was completely missing from the show.
Right.
And it makes the villain seem fucking stupid and lame.
Oh, okay.
But then you've got John Walker in the show, who is Wyatt Russell just is amazing. He's so good in that role. It's Kurt Russell's son.
Oh, okay.
And he's really good in the role. And then you've got Sam and Bucky. And I think it's probably the best Bucky thing to date. Like Bucky gets so much development in the show.
Right.
And then Sam does as well, but like it's really just kind of that next point for the world inside of the MCU, which I really liked. And then there's Loki, which is I think Loki's going to tie directly into Doctor Strange too. I think they're going to tie it directly in. And I think Loki is
the hope.
yeah. And I think because the guy who wrote Loki wrote the next Doctor Strange film.
Oh, okay.
Like he's this apparently after Scott Derrickson, who was the original director of Doctor Strange 2, left the project, they replaced the writer as well.
Right.
And they replaced it with the guy who wrote Loki.
Right.
Which is a little, and because Loki's dealing with the multiverse and like aspects of it. It's yeah.
Well,
It's
like
kind of suspicious that they're like tying Loki that closely to Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And they haven't confirmed Tom Hiddleston's in Doctor Strange, but I'm betting by the end of the show that they will have hints that he'll be in Multiverse of Madness, and it will be Doctor Strange, Wanda, and Loki.
That would be a cool movie.
That would be like a great team. That'd be a trio we need.
Yeah. Because my theory, one of the things that I hated about Infinity War was actually Loki's death. I thought it was so lame.
Yeah.
Because he's cheated death so many times, and his death in that scene is so easily fakeable. Because there's actually a long period of time where he's off screen, and then he comes back out of the shadows before he meets him and dies. And like, surely he faked that.
Yeah.
But then at the end, nothing happened. Endgame, nothing happened. So my theory in my head, and if you've seen the first ep of Loki, you might know what I'm talking about, is that he kind of gains a new purpose, which is hopefully either to just find himself back in the MCU somehow, or to literally go back in time and then fake his death after having died, and like fake it the second time.
Yeah.
So that all along he actually was alive but wasn't, or something. I don't know. I just thought that they kind of cheated Loki's character when he died so easily.
Yeah.
And so if he comes back, especially if they reveal that actually he was cheating it or something like that.
Yeah. Because Tom Hiddleston, I think, recently talked about that scene in particular.
All right.
And was talking about how, from his perspective, it was more of like Loki didn't think anything through in that moment.
Right.
Like from Tom's like grasp of the character, it was a point where Loki realized that shit was about to go down and had to make a quick decision to save Thor.
Yeah.
And so Loki just thought of like the first thing he could have, which was stab Thanos.
Yeah.
And then like you can tell the exact moment where Loki's hand stopped and he's like, yeah, okay, this plan's not going to work out.
Yeah.
Like I can't get out of this now. And yeah, so I think Loki did shift a bit in the Thor films from being like cunning to just being kind of like
an idiot.
Yeah.
Like not really an idiot, because he still does fuck around a bit in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
He
gets outsmarted a lot though.
He gets outsmarted, but that's mainly because Thor just kind of knows now that Loki's probably got a plan going on.
Yeah.
So when like Loki splits off when they're going to go when they're going to go get the ships, and Thor's just kind of like, man, you do this like every week now.
Yeah.
It's like, so like characters who like know that Loki can't be trusted, but then you've got like the whole thing on Sakaar where Loki like reveals that like he kind of wormed his way to the top of the government in like a week. And it's like, so Loki is still smart, but Loki has gotten to the point where by the end of Ragnarok and the beginning of Infinity War, where he's more focused on this family that he now thinks he has.
Right.
And so he's now going to like do whatever he can to help them rather than help himself. And so at this point, he doesn't even think about faking his own death, because he's like, gotta save my brother.
Right.
So I've got to get Thor out of this. And so he tries to get Thor out of it before he even stops to think about like what would happen to Loki.
Fair enough. Fair point. Good point. Yeah. Still felt cheap, but
it felt cheap. But it did make Thanos more of a threat.
Definitely.
Like immediately. Like, if Thanos can kill like already the best villain of the MCU, then shit's about to go down.
Yeah. But yeah, still I hope he comes back. But then like they have to bring him back in a way that people who haven't watched the show can understand as well. Yeah. So I think that's a thing that they're going to have to balance properly. Yeah. Otherwise it's just not going to work. Like you had the issue with the other TV shows where like it literally doesn't matter, because nothing in the TV shows in the like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Daredevil or whatever affects the movies, just because they're made by two different studios, and like it's really only a loose connection or like a one-way connection. Movies can affect the shows but not really vice versa. So it didn't matter as much, but now that they're like so tightly connected, it's like they really have to tread carefully, I think. Otherwise like general audiences are just going to be confused and not care, and they're going to stop going to the movies. But do you think the show, the movie is going to have like a harder time now going forward because the shows have more time to do character development? Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Because like films with like Shang-Chi and Eternals and the next Thor film and everything are going to be like 2 hours runtime, whereas the shows are like 4 to 6 hours every time. And so the shows are able to focus more on character development. And actually giving the characters more to do, rather than the movies, which are just going to be like point.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say. Yeah, it might feel weird after, like you say, when you go to Doctor Strange 2 and you know that you've experienced all this character change with Wanda. If someone hasn't experienced all that change, then they might be confused. So like, I should just do a recap before every film. Do a small recap on the movie screen. This is what you missed on Disney Plus. Only if they
flashing through.
If they did, they'd have to have Louis from Ant-Man doing the recap.
Him or Taika as Korg.
Or Deadpool.
Get him on
screen. That can be his role when he pitches all this Deadpool 3 to Kim Feige, and at the end, Kim Feige's like, no, I've thought of a better use for you, and he just does the recaps.
Yeah, he just stands like before every
And he's not allowed to swear either.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
Every now and again, like he'll go to swear and it'll like cut.
yeah. 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 I don't know. I'm nervous about it. I feel like they're not gonna do it as well as I hope they can. But also as I said, I don't care as much about the movies anymore, so maybe I won't care. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
do you think like Marvel's getting to a point where it's like
It's too much for like entry level people to start.
Yeah.
Like
that, or just that it's so big that there's potential for it to like implode on itself?
yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know about implode. Like people are still going to keep watching. If anything, it'll just taper off as stuff gets less interesting and people get less interested. I don't think it's going to just end all at once because like people aren't just going to very suddenly stop going.
No, not
Even
if
the next movie is really bad, people are still going to go.
Yeah.
That it'd have to be continuously making bad stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen because they're hiring really good people. They have all the money.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do a good job.
No, I
'cause they
mean,
know how to.
not so much from a financial or from a quality aspect, but more from like a sort of writing themselves into a corner aspect.
Nah, I don't think so. Like, there's so
Marvel-
much material in the comic books they can adapt. They can do so much.
Yeah.
Marvel has so much like to pull from
Yeah.
that even with Loki, you can sort of see what their next end game project is going to be.
But like, do you think that like from like a intertwined universe aspect that they could write themselves into a corner? Because if you think about it, even with the comics, right? With the comics, because it's been going on for such a long time, there is like retcons and shit like that.
Right.
Like it's not, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
as an extended universe, it'll be less of an extended universe.
I think Kevin Feige respects it enough not to retcon things. I think he's already made a very, very point where he's like, we're not bringing Tony back. We're not bringing Steve back. Their stories are done. Like he's focusing on other characters.
Yeah.
Like Wanda and Strange and Spider-Man. And once they're gone, they'll bring in some more characters.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be like they'll retcon it so they cast someone else.
Yeah.
Because Marvel has that kind of backlog of characters.
Yeah.
And they're bringing in Blade soon, Fantastic Four, the X-Men.
Yeah.
They've got Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, She-Hulk. All of these like big characters are coming in soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, it's not going to implode. It's just going to like expand out to the point where nobody wants to see all of it.
Yeah.
So therefore they just don't bother with any of it.
Yeah.
I think at one point Marvel will end. I don't think they're going to make some MCU films forever.
Yeah.
I think that one
This
point
is Disney though.
I think Disney would want to. I don't think Kevin Feige would want to.
Yeah,
I think at the point Kevin Feige leaves is the point the MCU dies.
Yeah.
I think the moment he decides he's done, even if Disney continues making them.
Yeah.
I think the moment Kevin Feige leaves is the
It's
moment
done.
everyone calls
Yeah.
it quits.
Yeah.
Because he's the man who's been there since like I think the first Iron Man, and he kind of knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even before
everything.
that, he was working on like Spider-Man and stuff before that.
Yeah, he's worked
Yeah.
on them for years, and so he knows. I think they're even putting him in charge. He's like helping with the comic books now or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he like
Oh, wow. Shit.
yeah, like they trust him enough, and so
Yeah.
he knows his shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the moment Kevin Feige is like, that's where I think we need to leave it off.
yeah.
That's where it ends.
Yeah.
So I think we've got a couple more big in-game projects before they go. See, I think they're going to do. I think we're getting Secret Wars eventually, and I think we'll get something Galactus, something Galactus focused, because they're introducing Fantastic Four, and now they can introduce Galactus. I think they will. But I don't think they're going to keep going forever.
Yeah.
I think Kevin Feige knows where he wants to end. Apparently, he's thought it up. Apparently, he's thought up to a like 2028
Oh yeah.
about what he wants to do with them. So he's thought it. He knows every project going forward. And so it's just even though I think it was the writer of Falcon and Winter Soldier said in an interview that he's surprised how little information has actually been released to the public because he knows so much more about what's going on.
Yeah.
That Kevin Feige has planned.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Kevin Feige knows everything that he wants to do. And so I think the moment Kevin Feige is like, this is it, then that's it.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be good though. It'll be good to know that there is an end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're not going forever.
Even if it's just the fan decided end.
Yeah.
Or Kevin decided end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon Galactus could be an end.
Yeah, that could be good.
Because Galactus, you don't know who Galactus is. He's like a planet eater.
Oh, okay.
He's fucking huge.
Yeah.
Like planets like that to him.
Yeah.
So he just picks them up and just, I don't fucking know. I haven't read Galactus comics.
Yeah.
He's not a cloud, that's what I know. In a Fantastic Four movie at one point, they're like, oh, Galactus is coming, it's just a fucking space cloud.
I mean,
and it was like, guys did really try with that one.
Back in the early 2000s and mid 2000s, like, you couldn't just make a movie where a dude just picks up a planet and eats it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that would be taken seriously. So, like,
they made a cloud.
I think it was understandable for that movie, and I enjoyed that movie when it came out when I was a child.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it since.
Oh
then,
yeah, no,
so
I liked it when I was a kid.
Yeah. So
yeah, and with
part of me, the child in me, will be disappointed when Galactus isn't a cloud. Because it won't be like my childhood version.
Yeah.
Of
Won't be hitting that nostalgia
Or
spot.
he turns up in a cloud.
Right. Yeah, if they have a nice homage to the cloud version.
He turns up riding the cloud.
It's like the guy, it's like Lakitu from Super Mario Bros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Galactus could be like a good end for them. Because they've still got so many more things to do. They've got Magneto. I really want to see an MCU version of the X-Men.
Yeah.
I want to see who like their cast and who their team would be.
I'm good that they're like letting it breathe though before they do that. Like, give it a few years.
Because that's not even an active development.
Yeah.
I think
that
Fantastic Four is an active development.
Yeah.
But that was, I think 2015 was when we last got a Fantastic Four film, which bombed because it was shit.
Yeah.
And so that's an active development. But I apparently, like, they're not even calling the X-Men film the X-Men. Apparently what Kevin Feige's going with is the mutants.
Wouldn't that be confusing because they just put out a movie called New Mutants?
Yeah.
And that's not going to be related to it.
See, I reckon, I think I'm one of the only people who reckons that New Mutants should be brought in to the MCU, because I guess
it could in theory, but it's such a bad movie.
I just want to see what because it sets up so many like big things by the end of it. I was like, now I want the fucking sequel that you guys teased.
Maybe. Yeah.
And then but the universe had already been sold to Disney by the point the film came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we already knew going in that we weren't going to get any sequels.
Yeah.
And it was kind of disappointing because I want the sequels.
Maybe
I think they had a
it'll be
great
an
cast.
alternate timeline thing.
Yeah.
Could scoop them out.
Just Doctor Strange go there and Multiverse of Madness, and they just hand him like a list of the things they've done. So he like reads them. He's like, "This is what they did in the sequels," and then he just gaps it.
Yeah.
Show me what Spider-Man 4, just everything. Show me what happened in all the sequels. I'm happy now.
One question I want to ask: do you think this? Because I think one of the biggest and worst things, it's not a bad thing about the MCU, but a bad thing that became of the MCU is because it did shared universes so well, it spawned a myriad of awful shared universes by people who just don't know how to build shared universes. Do you think that having these like Disney Plus shows sets a bad precedent because people are now going to be like, oh, we can do TV tie-ins, and then we're going to get a bunch of shitty TV shows that are supposed to link into like Godzilla or the Justice League, Fast and Furious, like that kind of stuff, like, and it's all just going to be like real bad, and they're not going to do it well for casual audiences, so then movies will be confusing.
I mean, they're already making a show for the DC universe.
What are they? What are they making?
Peacemaker.
I don't know who that is.
Who's just one of the members of the new Suicide Squad film.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
John Cena's been like, I think they nearly finished filming the show.
Is John Cena playing
Peacemaker? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. There we go.
Yeah.
And it's but like James Gunn's directing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So James Gunn's like in charge of the show as well as the movie. So like,
right.
At least they're not like just handing it off to some random person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still think the DC films should reboot themselves entirely.
I mean, isn't the Suicide Squad kind of a reboot of the Suicide Squad, even though it still has some of the characters in it?
Yeah. But I think the DC films just need to reboot themselves entirely. I think we just need to accept that this was kind of a failure. Just kind of pick back up at the beginning and be like, maybe we can make something better now.
But they've established enough, and there's enough that people like. Like, people really like Wonder Woman as a character. Even if the movies weren't, well, at least the second movie was real bad, but even if the movies aren't that great, she's still an interesting character.
Yeah.
And Shazam was was pretty entertaining for the most part.
Yeah, got,
If the Suicide Squad ends up being good, then people aren't going to want to see that get reset. They're just going to wait. They're just going to want to see the good parts continue and the bad parts get forgotten about.
Yeah.
I think Warner Brothers has a really weird idea on what the good and the bad parts are.
Yeah.
Firing Henry Cavill on his birthday.
Did they do that?
Yep, they on Henry Cavill's birthday this year, they like tweeted out that the next Superman will be black.
Oh, right.
On Henry Cavill's birthday, and it was like, it's kind of firing him on his birthday. You're kind of just being like, we were recasting you entirely, but happy birthday.
Yeah. I mean, you would hope that that's something that he'd been told before they announced it publicly.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know if he was.
Who knows these
I don't know
days.
if DC talks to anyone on their team.
Yeah. But I'm wondering if things like outside of comic books are going to have that type of thing. Because you know how like Apple's making all their original shows and there's all these original Netflix movies and stuff. Like, do you think like all of that is it's gonna create a new precedent, a new standard of the mixture between TV and film just kind of blurring?
I think some franchises will do it. I don't think every franchise will do it. Jurassic Park's already doing it.
Really?
Jurassic Park has like an animated Netflix show.
I don't know if animated really counts though.
Would you count What If though?
No, because like that's not in the same like movie universe. Yeah. It's like a spin-off. It's a completely unrelated spin-off. Yeah. So I don't think that counts. Even if it was a canon animated show like the Tron series or something like that, or the Star Wars series, like because they're animated and they kind of exist so far away from the movies, I don't think it's quite as big of a deal. Like with the Disney Plus shows, it's like it's clearly like this is important and key characters and key storylines and stuff. Yeah. But when you do it animated and you get different voice actors and stuff, like you're clearly saying that it's not as important.
Yeah.
So I think, but like doing more stuff like with the same huge budgets as these Disney shows are doing. Yeah. You know, where it's like clearly just as big a deal as a movie.
It's like Star Wars is doing.
Yeah, exactly. Like exactly like Star Wars.
Yeah. I don't think every franchise will do it. I think Fast and Furious is gearing up to end. I think Vin Diesel just recently announced that number 10 is the last one.
Well, it could be his last one, but they could still make more after him, right?
No, because I watched an interview today, like not an interview, a review of the 9th one.
Oh, yeah.
And she said that they have like flashbacks in the film.
Oh, really?
And like she specifically was like, that would make a really interesting prequel series. Like young Dom. And I was like, do we need that? I don't know if I want that.
And Diesel's barely aged, though. He'd have to play himself as a young guy.
Yeah. It just looks like a 15-year-old. Like no one brings it up. It's just Vin Diesel at like high school.
Yeah.
Just surrounded by like 15 like actual 15-year-olds and just Vin Diesel. I'd watch the shit out of that show. It'd be like my favorite show.
Yeah, no, I reckon, there's a good chance for a lot of this to continue with other franchises for sure.
Yeah, I don't think every franchise will do it.
Yeah.
I think
Wasn't Harry Potter making a series?
No.
TV series? What was it about?
I think they were thinking of it, but I don't think we ever got an actual announcement on it.
I don't know, I just vaguely remember reading something saying that they were thinking about making TV series.
I mean, they're probably thinking about a lot of things, whether they decide to actually do it.
I think Harry Potter, though, would actually kind of lend itself well to it. I reckon they should make a Harry Potter TV series, but like rebooting Harry Potter,
like doing the movies again.
Yeah, but as like an HBO Max show.
I think
with like a big budget where you can actually tell more story than what they put in the movies.
I agree that the movies are cut way too short, but also people are like in love with those characters, and at least the last couple movies are like really good. So like it's kind of, it would be a shame in some ways. I think that's the type of thing where you'd have to wait another 20, 50 years.
Yeah, I'm not saying make it today, but I reckon eventually we should get one.
Eventually, maybe. Yeah, it could be a nice way to do it again from a different perspective with a lot more time. And you could go a lot deeper into those characters as well. One thing that I think could do well would be Transformers, because I think like Transformers movies suffer from just being way too much about action because they need to sell action to sell a movie.
Yeah.
But if they took the time to get people interested in characters on a more short form show, then they might be more interested in the movies. They might be more interested in characters by the time you go to see the movie. potentially they could do that, or it's just a good avenue for spin-offs.
Yeah.
Like how Star Wars is kind of doing is not directly tied into the movies necessarily, just a spin-off in that universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Transformers could do that as well because it's got quite a big, like an infinitely available option to do any kind of story. Yeah.
I reckon the other franchise that could do it really well is the Conjuring one.
I haven't seen any of those, so I can't.
Matt's in the third one. But no, just the horror aspect people really like. And so I think, like, give it an anthology series.
Right.
Just every episode's like a different like horror case from Ed and Lorraine. So you have, instead of making more Conjuring films starring whoever plays it, I think it's like Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, just have them in like an HBO Max show. And every season has like 10 episodes, and you have like every episode's like a different case, like one of their smaller cases. And just have a horror anthology. I think that would work really well.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. Then you don't need to watch every episode to keep up with what's going on. You can just tune in for like one or two.
Yeah.
Because it would work. It's not, I don't think the Conjuring universe needs to have like an overarching story. I think it just needs to be horror things that exist in the same universe. But that aren't connected, that's leading to something like Endgame. I don't want a Conjuring Endgame. See, a while ago I would have said Jurassic Park could do it, but I think what we've heard about the next one, they're also kind of gearing up towards their last film.
Right. I mean,
so it feels like they're also like building up to like their last, because apparently the next one brings back the original cast from the first film.
Right.
And it's like the close off of the new trilogy.
Yeah.
And I think it's the end point for them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I thought they were more likely to treat it more like Transformers or Star Wars, where it's like you kind of do it in trilogies, and then you can like start a new trilogy another 5 years later with different characters who go back to the island for some reason.
Yeah.
Like I think they can keep making Jurassic movies without using the same characters and stuff. Those characters are pretty boring anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I just like dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are cool.
Yeah.
I reckon Terminator will try a TV show at one point. Didn't they already do that? They already did. They did the Sarah something Chronicles, the Sarah Connor show or some shit. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Terminator's already done a TV show that I don't know if it was good or not. I haven't heard anything about it. But their latest movies were shit, so let's be honest, they're probably going to try a TV show again soon. Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of TV shows and other forms of media, time for our next segment, which is
What You Doing?
Which is a segment where we talk about what we've been doing and watching and reading and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
TV shows, I've been rewatching The Office again. Well, actually, it's only my first time rewatching it actually. Because I stopped. Did I tell you that I was rewatching How I Met Your Mother? And I stopped at end of season 7. And that was mostly because I just didn't want to bother going through the whole Barney and Robin thing. Yeah. There was still a lot of things about the last couple, about like 5, 6, and 7 that I kind of just thought were really boring and lame and didn't care about. I was just kind of holding through just because I said I'd watched that much.
Yeah.
But honestly, outside of like season like 1 and 4, it's really not that amazing of a show. It's like it's nice comfort food kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of tapers off a little bit. And similar for The Office, which I've been rewatching. First like 3 seasons are excellent, and then 4, 5, 6 are they kind of lose their flavor because they don't have that big thing driving them, which is the Jim and Pam thing, which was like a big story point, which kind of like is no longer presented. There's no longer a conflict. In the later seasons, so now they have to introduce new conflict and new stories, and the new things they come up with just aren't as interesting. I'm also going to stop watching The Office after season 7 because I don't want to rewatch 8 and 9.
I rewatched, I think, up to the point where Michael left.
Yeah, that's end of 7.
And then I went and just watched the finale of the entire show. I was like, cool.
Fair enough.
I just wanted to watch the finale. I was like, cool. Just those 2 scenes, there's like great moments. Yeah, but like, I don't want to have to sit through Will Ferrell in that show a lot, or most of Robert California.
I like him as a character, but like,
I think they got Robert California. I think I saw an entire video essay on YouTube the other day where the guy just talked about how Robert California seemed like they didn't really know what they were doing with him. Like every episode, he was written differently.
I think
sometimes
that's what made him interesting is that he's so unpredictable and weird.
Yeah. The Lizard King line is still, I think, one of the best lines of the show.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I think, the way that they have to change the corporate structure of The Office so much in order to give it a storyline. It's like, do we really have to do all this like so many times? Like just keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Like, come on, don't even follow their own advice. Outside of TV and the other stuff, Marvel stuff we've already talked about, I've been listening to a lot of John Mayer, and I recently downloaded a bunch of this guy on Reddit did this amazing compile of the best of the 2019 World Tour, where a bunch of fan recordings, video and audio recordings, he's put them together and made his own little concert type thing. He's put out 3 volumes of it already, and there'll be another one coming out next week or something. And that's been really interesting. It's just really sad because John is so great live, and yet he won't put out proper mastered mixed recordings of his shows, which is really annoying. I mean, it could be to do with the label not wanting to do it, but it's just so annoying because he's so good and his best stuff is in the live stuff. So I've been listening to a little bit of that, which is getting me pumped for the new album, and I think that's all I had to say. I mean, I've been watching movies as usual, just watching lots of random stuff, watching some art stuff, indie stuff, foreign stuff. I can't think of anything notable that I've seen recently, to be honest. So, nothing else.
Right. So have already talked about Marvel films. So the other thing that I've been doing is just going out and listening to a bunch of albums. So literally just Google searching 2021 albums and then just slowly working my way through. So I've jumped around, listened to a bunch of just random shit.
Are you going to listen to the John Mayer album and the Lord album?
Yeah, probably will. Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember the last album I listened to, honestly.
You listened to the one the other day, weren't you?
Yeah.
I remember at one point we went driving somewhere and I put music on in my car, and at the same time you're listening to French pop music.
Yeah, it was so disorientating. I was listening to some French fucking pop music or something.
And then whatever the fuck I was
And then
playing.
whatever you were listening to, and it was such a contrast.
I tried to do that.
Yeah, and then so the other thing that I've been doing is following a lot of sports. The Euros are going on at the moment. The European Championships of football. So they're down to the first round of the playoffs, round of 16s currently going on. Also been following the NBA, which is up to its the round before the final. So only 4 teams are left in it now, so I've been following that. That's about it. Yeah, and then just watching the occasional movie and stuff. Yeah, now that the Marvel marathon's done. Yeah,
Took us a while.
Yeah. What have you got?
Rewatching Marvel, obviously.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I've been trying to get through the His Dark Material books.
Oh yeah.
I've literally got the third one right behind me. But it's only because I love the TV show.
All right.
If you haven't seen, it's great.
It's on Neon?
Neon, yeah.
Right.
It's so good. Second season's a bit weak, but I think that the second book is also kind of weak.
Right.
So they did their best. But and they're I think they just posted on Instagram 2 days ago that they started filming season 3. Cool. So I was like, I need to read the fucking third book now.
Yeah.
I should really jump on that before it turns into a 9-season Game of Thrones thing that I can't be bothered getting on board.
Oh, it's only 3 seasons.
Oh, sweet.
They're doing 1 season per book.
Oh, okay.
And so the third book is the final book, so they're doing 1 last season and then they're done.
I like it when a TV show knows when it needs to end.
Yeah. Talking about TV shows that don't know when they need to end. I'm still watching The Flash.
Oh, wow.
I'm still doing that one.
They're still making that.
Oh,
Jeez.
yeah. Matt can attest I've been suffering through that. He watched me watch the last one, and I think I just kind of paused it every now and again just to cry because it's so bad. But then the rest of this, the CW DC shows I still watch. Superman and Lois, Batwoman, Legends of Tomorrow, that's the other one that's on. And they're all right. I think Superman and Lois is quite good. I think that's because they gave it HBO Max gave them a higher budget.
Oh, okay.
So they were we'll make a good Superman show, which is really good. But yeah, the rest kind of just, I keep getting behind on Batwoman because I just keep forgetting it's a show.
Mm.
So yeah, I watched those, read books. Yeah, and then I just watched the occasional movie. Honestly. Yeah.
Fair.
Cool.
All right.
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. All right. Well, this has been another episode of the RedLaughRiot podcast. I've been Matt.
Sorry, I forgot that I go next. I've been Ben.
And I've been Eamon.
And we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.